That must be 588 for the Hudson Valley on that region. Victor John, State Committee Field Staff for Western New York.
Jennifer Clifford, CRI Program Manager.
DJ Hunter, Region 2 AEA. Gentleman, also fellow of the Department of Agriculture.
Colin F. Watershed Program Specialist. State Committee. Jason Coquinos, Ag Non-Point Source Manager.
Good morning. Caitlin Stewart, President, Conservation District Employees Association.
Christos Galanopoulos, that's
Ryan
it.
Stein, Director Division of Water Resources. Just the fire.
Thank you. Good morning, Christos. I'm just going to go through a quick scroll of the, if I remember, online joined us. How about CCE?
This is Dan Welch with
Dan,
Federal
are you
Cooperative
able to
Extension,
introduce
Eagle
yourself?
County.
We've got Dan Welch from CCE Online joining us. Thank you, Dan. How about Cornell Tales?
Yep, Jared's here.
Okay, apparently there is an issue with connection. Sorry, folks. We might just have to try to work through it. All right, Jared Copley from Cornell Health is on. And how about Department of Health?
Yeah, Paul Kaczmarzyk's here and Morgan Turbaugh.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah,
There are a couple.
sounds
of
like somebody's got a lot of background noise. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's someone who may be unmuted, and we're getting feedback from there, and it's messing up your guys' audio at in Utica.
Okay. We'll try to keep an eye on that and try to keep the paper shuffling to a minimum here on our side. This is the first time I'm testing out the owl in a very big room, so bear with us, everyone.
So everybody with laptops in here needs to be up to, okay, right? Nobody's got.
I don't believe so, no. Okay, and so I'll just say a very warm welcome to the other districts who are on the line joining us, and anyone else who has dialed in to participate in this meeting. Again, I'll apologize in advance if the audio is not the best, and again, thank you for joining.
All set?
Yep.
To review and approval of the past minutes, is there any discussion, comments? Not, hold on, the motion be approved. So, second? Second. Okay, we'll vote. There. Aye. Bill? Aye. Scott? Aye. Erica?
Aye.
And I for me as well. And we have the 45 from budget update from Brian.
So for correspondence, we've just received a number of periodicals from soil and water conservation districts. Now is the time of year we typically receive annual reports from districts. So those have been coming in. Unfortunately, I don't have a budget update for anyone. State budget has not been passed yet, so hopefully in May, we'll be able to come back to the state committee and share that there's been an approved state budget. But I am going to pass it over to Brian for a staff update, please.
Thanks, Bethany. Hello, everybody. I wanted to just give a brief staff update for the Division of Land and Water Resources and the Soil and Water Conservation Committee. Tyler introduced his title as Watershed Program Specialist. Back in March, we were able to promote Tyler into that position to manage the projects pursuant to the DEC MOU. There is a lot going on in that agreement. We are renewing that agreement, and it's 10 years, 50 million. Is that right, Bethany? I believe it is. Right now, we've got 41 million of that going to the Eastern Finger Lakes for a really large watershed-wide project. And Tyler will also be working side by side with regional coordinators to help advance watershed coalition programs and projects throughout the entire state. Congratulations, Tyler, on your new position. And we will be working to backfill the program analyst position as soon as we have approval to do so. And also, just last week, I believe it was, the department approved 2 additional AEA positions for the state committee. 6th regional coordinator, which is just a phenomenal show of support for our ability to support conservation districts for regional staff and regional coordination. So stay tuned for a job announcement on that. And also a 3rd member of what we affectionately call our planning team. CNP specialist, team planner, technical specialist, who will be able to work with Ron and Brendan and Greg on the certification program, but most importantly, be able to open up avenues for us to provide even more support to districts in their technical capacity, planning capacity. So stay tuned for that job announcement, both of which job descriptions were sent off to Human Resources. They're reviewing that. These are New York Helps positions, which means that you do not have to be on a civil service list to apply, meeting the minimum qualifications for the position, gets the resume and application in the door, and then Bethany, Greg, myself, and others will be reviewing resumes and selecting candidates for interviews. So more to come. Really great news. This will be, I'm going to say the first time in a long time, at least, if not the first time that we've been able to staff 6 regional coordinators with no slashes behind the name, right? That's what we're also looking to do, is to make sure that these are regional coordinator positions and not regional coordinators / something else, right? So stay tuned. With that being said, we are looking at focusing in on the Southeast region for this 6th position. And that will also mean that we'll be shuffling around regional coordinators bit as well. So as we continue to move forward with it, I'm sure we'll continue to bring updates to the committee. And also for the Division of Land and Water Resources, we are successful in bringing a new staff person to work on the farmland protection program. This individual comes to us from extensive land trust experience in California, and has recently moved to the East Coast and started last week. So he's going to be working with Dave Bain, working with Jeff Kehoe, doing land trust grants, farmland protection plan, and implementation grants program. So we are able to build some capacity across all division programs with these recent hires and job announcements. Anything else, Lisa?
No, that was a very thorough update, and I just want to say thank you to you specifically for really helping to shepherd this effort in expanding not only state committee staff, but the staff that are on within the division. It's an incredible amount of time, and I personally appreciate it, and I think it will make a really big impact on how we can support districts. So thank you.
Appreciate that, but the support we have from this administration, Commissioner Ball, Deputy Commissioner Walters, Human Resources has been unprecedented in my 25 years of the department. So, thank you.
All righty. We're moving on to 10 o'clock with I guess about conservation approval authority, now skills, abilities, experience for BMP certification.
Thanks. Very much appreciate that presentation.
I share my heart, I wanted to share the projector screen. Not sure I can do that. Can anybody tell me what's on the sharing? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. All right, folks, so this is a kind of a refresher on approval authority for state programs. There's not really anything new in this presentation. We've given it over the years in various forms. We haven't really changed much since about 2019. So we're not asking for any committee action or learn anything too new, but the idea of this this program and policy is to let people know out in the field what types of projects can they sign off on, like, can they approve the designs, can they approve construction and ask those. And that is the purpose of this presentation. So our policy is pretty much condensed into a spreadsheet. I'm not going to put it up on the screen. Spreadsheets are just terrible for presentations like this. But I'll give you a preview. If you look at the spreadsheet later, there's a page with instructions and history and kind of thought process behind what's gone into this. It's been a long kind of struggle and process over decades and looking for various factors. And a lot of that's in the instruction sheet. And then on the meat of this, the workbook, there's another sheet that lists all the different NRCS standards and lists what type of approval authority is needed for each one of those. I'll cover those right now. A few points to think about. Spreadsheet is on the SharePoint engineering page. I can email it to anyone who requests it. It's not really publicly hosted anywhere, but if you have trouble getting SharePoint and getting it, just email me or get it to you. Not equivalent or transferable to NRCS JAA. JAA is a job approval authority system that NRCS has for federal employees, and it allows them to delegate authority out through the organization without like dealing with state licenses and national certifications, that kind of stuff. It's just like an internal NRCS certification system. The stuff we're covering today only applies to soil and water districts. So you might see something and say, oh, well, my town does that on their own with no supervision. That's okay. This doesn't apply to towns, villages, counties. Your brother-in-law on the back 40, it's just soil and water districts operating independently that they can do on their own. And it is subject to change over time. All the different organizations and factors that are kind of pressing on this issue, that can change their mind and yank stuff from time to time. It's just something we have to deal with. So basically, I have this approval scheme kind of divvied up into 5 different areas. There's engineering reporting to the state board. And let me just give you a brief overview of what that is. There's a state board for engineering, land surveying, and geology. And they're kind of the state government entity that decides any questions of engineering practice, land surveying, geology practice. So anytime there's a question about what is professional engineering in New York State, it'll go to the state board and they'll discuss it and come back with an answer. And that's what you're stuck with. There's no authority higher than the board. They are the ultimate authority for that. Okay, our next group is Soil and Water Conservation Committee Soil Conservation Cultural Practices. Okay, these are we call them cultural practices because they're NRCS BMPs that we want somebody to implement year after year after year and become a habit, become part of the culture on that farm that they do it every year. We got a couple singles here for 590, nutrient management planning. That is its own like specific requirements. 592, peat management planning. That's got its own special thing. And then down here, all remaining practices. That's kind of everything that's not covered under the above. And I'll get to that. So engineering practices, they're classified as engineering kind of theoretically based on the risk to health and safety of the public and design complexity. So you got some ones that you would expect, like waste storage is engineering, irrigation pipelines are engineering, stream bank control and protection, access roads. So like you'll read through the list and see some that are like access road. Probably, you might think it's not deserving of being on the engineering list. There's a bunch of them like that. But there were reasons during discussions in the past with the state board for why they included every single one that's on the engineering list. You can follow up with me after this conversation if you'd like to hear more about that. But just know that if you read through the list, there's some that stick out. They don't seem to make sense, but they're there anyways. So they require approval by a New York State licensed professional engineer or NRCS staff with job approval authority. This is kind of one of the quirks of our systems. We have like reciprocity towards NRCS. We'll have them approve a project sometime that they have JAA. And just some background information on professional engineers. They need a bachelor's degree, 4 years of experience. They take an exam and then they need continuing ed. I'm just going to kind of list credentials for each of these different segments. This is like the most typical way to become a professional engineer. There's also like substitution for experience. So you could have like 20 years of experience and no degree. And they're all pretty much similar. There's like different substitutions for experience versus degrees. For the conservation cultural practices, these are like ones we want to do every year. So like cover crop, conservation crop rotation, origin biomass planting, strip cropping. These were covered in a special policy that the state committee developed a few years ago. And at the same time, we established flat rate reimbursement rates. The flat rate part isn't related to the approval, but it's just something that came up with around the same time. And for these practices, we require a certified crop advisor or NRCS staff with JAA for the practice. If you're not familiar, certified crop advisors, they typically need a bachelor's degree, 2 years of experience. There's 2 difficult exams, and they need to do continuing ed also. Certified crop advisor is, I feel like there's probably more of them around the state than engineers, and most districts have a certified crop advisor and staff. Many of our staff are CCAs, so it's there's quite a few around. For 590 nutrient management planning, this is developing a CNMP for a farm. Manages the rate, source, placement, and timing of plant nutrients and soil amendments while reducing environmental impacts. Okay, and that acronym, you probably all heard it around, CNMP. That's a comprehensive nutrient management plan. And in our system, it requires a BEAM or NRCS certified planner. Okay, planners are kind of educated and certified by the state. They go through online training, in-person training. There's a 3-plan review process. There's ongoing quality assurance reviews. And they have to maintain CCA certification. So it's a pretty in-depth certification program that the state has developed to train and certify these named planners. The 4th one was 592 feed management. This is for manipulating and controlling the quality, quantity of available nutrients, feedstuffs, ingredients, additives fed to livestock and poultry. And for this one, we have a requirement to be a professional animal scientist. Okay, and professional animal scientist candidates, similar to the PEs, they do a bachelor's degree, 4 years experience, exam, continuing education. Oops. What's too far? So that leaves us with the fifth, all remaining practices. So if you're not in one of those upper four, you're not engineering, or nutrient management, or cultural practices, or 592, you're in this kind of leftover bin. So you used to call these conservation. It would be like engineering versus conservation, and conservation was just the potpourri of everything that wasn't engineering. Some of the practices like access control, fence, roof runoff structure, which is basically gutters and drip trenches, clearing and snagging. There's a whole lot in this list. And the way we determine authority or approval for these is going to be based on knowledge, skills, and abilities at the local level. So kind of toy with the idea of making some sort of state certification for all this stuff in the past, but we always kind of end up in this bin where the local authority is what matters. It's what your district board is going to allow you to approve, because it's not engineering and it's not one of the other three. So that's what we require. We recommend you have a resume or file of credentials for staff and a list of completed practices, education courses, prior JAA years on the job. Just recommend that each district maintain some sort of file for their employees and keeps track of what they're permitted to approve. And SWCC staff are available to help set that up if you need help at the district level. Any questions?
I'm just curious, what is it? Giving job approval for,
I would say technically they do still give it. Like there's a couple engineers that have it for engineering practices in order to do NRCS contract work. So they do still give it rarely. I would say, they stopped doing it widespread in the 2010s, early 2010s. And then in 2019, I think it was, they kind of like cleared the books on everyone. Every NRCS employee, every state, they just said, everybody's done, we got to recertify everything. Because they're supposed to recertify everybody every 3 years internally, and that wasn't being done. They got audited. That was one of the things on the audit. So, like,
you got a liability issue pretty much?
yes. I mean, it's policy. You got to follow policy. So if you're not, that's bad. So it was definitely decreasing more done in 2010s, and then in 2019, it was like screeching halt for everybody. Better.
That's just for engineering practices.
Oh, they do still have some job approval or
say the cultural practices.
NRCS still
Yeah.
distributes ecological sciences. JA, okay, I did not know that.
You had local Shenango County experience with that recently?
Yes. The USC initiated site visits and training with NRCS staff to distribute JAA for things like tree planting, brush
Okay.
management, and stuff like that.
That's great. Good to hear. I have a little certificate program that I administer called Conservation Approval Authority. This is a kind of somewhat informal approval authority system that was started in 2015. Consists of mostly online courses and projects that you do on your own. You turn them into me and I complete them. Not comprehensible, standard available. It's only like 3 or 4. It's not a mandate from state policy. It's basically optional for districts to do. But it can help at your local level with your documented knowledge, skills, and abilities if you have a certificate from a CA program. And all those training courses are on YouTube now. You can't read this, it's too tiny. basically, there's YouTube videos, 1 hour to 2 hours long at different topics. Some are like directly NRCS standards, like roof runoff structure and fences, and then others are prerequisite type courses like hydrology and culvert design. So feel free to check those out around the Ag and Markets YouTube channel, and then within that, there's a Soil Water Conservation Committee training playlist. There's also a Soil Water Conservation Committee meeting playlist. You can catch up on all your old meetings. I used to have these on like an e-learning portal called Udemy, and they kind of stopped supporting free courses. And these were all free, and they were like, they can't make money off that. So YouTube is ad supported, obviously, as everyone knows, so you can get ads. That's how these are hosted. And then most of these courses have like projects that are due or homework or handouts. And we just have a Ag and Markets website that posts those. Want to show those quick. So like all these different courses, students can click on them and download a big zip file with manuals, references, worksheets, project files, everything they need for the course. Any questions? I have some bonus content too, so we're not done.
How many district staff have gone through your CEAA
Like 30 or 40. So,
since 2015?
yeah, since 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a few a year, like a handful a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there one practice that's more popular than others?
The easiest ones are fence and roof runoff, so I think it's usually people start with those. Like, they're pretty low hanging fruit
Yeah.
and easy to learn, and kind of people already know, like, they have roof gutters on the house, so they know what that is. They see fences all over the place, kind of know what that is, so did those two.
So I'll just add, I guess the one reason why I wanted to ask, or why I did ask Tim to present today is because I think the CAA process is, one of the unique things that we do in New York for districts, and it allows district staff to get kind of an extra level of training and experience, and allows them to sign off on certain practices. And it's an element of our strategy to try to figure out if there's any way we can kind of expand that. The CAA program, maybe to add additional practices or provide additional references or resources to districts so that they can, better serve their customers on the ground. And we hear all the time that there's engineer shortages and districts have trouble finding people to design and certify certain practices. So I guess this was just kind of one way to bring this topic back up, let everybody know that we do have this available for districts, and maybe start the conversation on if there's any ways we can build it out a little bit.
So I also want to share.
Maybe just stop sharing the presentation.
I gotta duplicate the desktops. I can just throw it. There you go. Just wanted to show the EcoTalk website, because some of you might not be familiar with that. You hear me talking about NRCS standards. Okay, what are those? Where do you find out what they are? You go to the NRCS Field Office Technical Guide. And this is one of the things we rely on NRCS for. They provide a wealth of technical information and updates. You go to the technical office, Field Office Technical Guide site, look for your state drop down. Okay. Go. Okay, and, you know, it looks like something out of the early 2000s. You go to section 4. It works most of the time. There's a search function. The best stuff is in section 4. Conservation practice standards and support documents. And then you have all these NRCS standards. Each one has conservation practice standard. It has a statement of work. And then PO and the NED, I don't remember. There's like extra documents that NRCS uses. We have equivalents of, but they have different. So that's section 4, and then this section 1 is useful too. It's got general resource information. If you want to see changes that have been made to the site, you go to this notices section, and every time we change the site, they have to make a little notice of it. And there's like laws and maps and like general resource stuff, like the New York State drainage manuals in here. There's a lot of manuals that people need. So that's the field office technical guide, or ePhotog. Just think of it as a repository for all standards. If there's a committee in the state that kind of runs this and operates changes on that, it's a bunch of the discipline leads for NRCS. Ron Bush and I sit on it, kind of as a courtesy. And every time NRCS comes out with a new standard or revision, that committee of the discipline leads kind of handle those changes, make sure it's suitable for sure. Okay, one other thing I wanted to show you was up here. Okay, the tools and references wiki. This kind of supports the CAA program. Came out of like an old in-person class that staff used to do. It was kind of like a introduction to all the books and those NRAIS manuals and like spreadsheet tools and software tools that were available for districts. And I just kind of compiled all them and added a bunch of other stuff and made it into this wiki. Basically, you know, whatever topic you're looking for, say planning is a big one. Just click on the heading, and it'll bring up resources related to planning. And each one of these links is just like a little text link with, most of them have links that go elsewhere, like back to the SharePoint site or off the NRCS website, back to some publisher page. So that's useful. Mostly for more beginning staff, technicians, come on here and just go through the reviews, go through the links and each topic. It's just like a substitution for Google. Like Google, it's hard to tell like what's appropriate for New York when you bring a bunch of resources. And this is a curated resource that people can trust. All right, that concludes everything that I wanted to present. Any more questions about?
Can you bring up the slide again that shows the approval authority for cultural practices?
Yes. Yeah, it's fun. These are small. This one?
Yeah.
It's fair to say that's a subset of more agronomic cultural practices. There's the remainder list that are non-engineering ecological practices that, you know, have that power skill and ability without necessarily a professional certification.
And I don't want to get into a whole discussion about it right now, but the thought crossed my mind that we did have a discussion back, I think in the fall, about job approval or, approval.
CPA required practice, right? Yeah.
What's that? And I'm just wondering, you know, if, in the policy, it says you have to be a certified classifier to prove that. But here, it looks like we could allow the require a policy change, but possibly someone with job approval authority.
We do currently allow someone with NRCS job approval authority,
For coming from.
but not many people have that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I thought what this was saying is that they would have job approval authority to the state.
No, it'd be NRCS, and that's kind of where we're at. We'll accept anything that they have, JA, whatever, that they want to accept,
Yeah,
the other way.
okay. That was a misunderstanding, but where the job approval authority on there were coming from.
Yeah, we're still willing to give people credit for if they have it, definitely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's hard to get.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Oh, Caitlin?
What would the process look like if conservation districts were interested to add topics to the certification program? Are you able to add more categories?
Yeah, I'm trying, but yeah, I'm trying. Like, I don't know, like right now I'm updating the hydrology course to be ArcGIS Pro compatible. And it's just taking longer than I realized. If districts want to request topics, just email me and start a conversation. Back in like 2012, when I started, we did a survey and gave the usual suspects. We have not requested ones like roof runoff, diversions, heavy use area, waterways, that kind of stuff. So those are all kind of in the hopper of things to work on. If any districts have specific stuff they want, let me know.
Great, thank you.
I was gonna ask a similar question.
Yeah.
When we first put together the list of, courses that are available, I guess, how did we finalize that list, or how did we come to that?
That was just a survey and survey results, and then do went from there. Like when I started, I was really green and learning about all the stuff. So like I kind of picked the best and then developed material on. That's kind of how the priority went. Anybody else? Turn it over to Joel. No, turn it over to Joel.
Well, thanks, Tim. Yeah, certainly more to come on this topic. They said we'd like to try to expand it as best we can. And so, Caitlin, to your point, if there's any needs out there from districts, let us know, and we'll figure out next steps going forward. I think I have it down when it's flip. So I guess while this is putting up, I'll introduce our next presentation is from Joel Dubois. Is that right?
I like voice.
Boy, I'm sorry. You're just talking about France on the way here, so. Was executive director of Green Water. I'm here, what they do. This opportunity, really around the state, so. But this is taking forever. Davis, do you want to do the sitting or standing? It's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Committee open.
While we were waiting, there was a question that came in the chat regarding to Tim's topic. If someone had GAA from NRC, would that be applicable in New York?
No, I don't think so.
It would be something to talk to our NRCS colleagues about. I think they're, so it's like a 3 section. Like some planning credentials.
There we go. Okay.
These are the. Okay. Yeah, that's your. Yep.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Bethany, for the invitation to spend today. I'm Joel Boyce, Executive Director of the Soil Water District in Greene County. This is mostly a presentation that we gave to our stream management program partners. It added some stuff for the ag program. And that's right at the beginning here.
I see. Right there.
All right, so ag program updates. So in 2024, we just restarted our AEM program. We have been out of the program since about 2008. So about 16 years out of the program. We had a technician in our stream program who operates a farm in Greene County and really wanted to get this AEM program up and running. So he got our strategic plan updated, and I moved him over from operator to our ag tech. So with the reintroduction, we did 11 tier 1 connections, 9 tier 2 evaluations. We advanced 3 tier 3 plans and approved 2 tier 4 projects. Out of those tier 4 projects, we had 1 on a dairy and vegetable farm, drainage and erosion control practices, and scheduled for construction this season. And our other tier 4 was on a beef cattle farm, approved barnyard, fencing and lakeways. Construction has already been started, and we're planning to complete that in 2025 with the culvert's already been installed, livestock water area installed, drainage improvements, and we have the barnyard fencing to go this season still. Some other ag program accomplishments, we provide technical assistance in the form of soil fertility, wetlands and mapping. We did 41 ag assessments, 1,200 acres of farmland and 2,500 total acres included in those ag assessments. Also, I would just say, I thought that the time I had here was going to be split between the 2 districts. So any questions, feel free to fire away as we're in the presentation. Should be plenty of time. Staff training in bale grazing, pasture management and AIM Tier 3 planning, and outreach through the Farm Bureau, Cornell Cooperative Extension, and the Greene County Youth Fair. I'd also throw on the Ag Society there in Greene County. Yes.
Joel, how do you conduct your soil fertility tests?
The soil testing, actually, we have people go to the Cornell Cooperative Extension. Yeah, yeah. So I kept the AIM stuff and ag stuff brief because we just got started. Everybody in here, I'm sure, knows more about it than I do. So for the meat of the presentation, we'll be going through our stream program accomplishment. And that's really the huge vast of our program. 90+% of our program comes through our stream management program. And the Smith, that's our stream management implementation program. And that's part of our stream management program where we have grant funding that's available. One of the sort of criticisms in the early years of our stream program was that it was largely driven by New York City's interests and funded entirely by New York City. So that does add up to a certain extent. But the communities wanted to have some more local control, local influence on what was getting funded. So after Hurricane Irene, they rolled out, the city in partnership with us, rolled out this stream management implementation program that made grant funding available in a number of different categories. And that grant funding is managed essentially by staff at our office, but also by our Schoharie Watershed Advisory Committee, where each of the towns in the Schoharie Basin, that's the watershed that drains to the New York City Schoharie Reservoir, each of the municipalities in that drainage area has a representative on the SWAC, the advisory committee. And we receive applications twice a year from community groups, including municipalities, private landowners, not-for-profits, supported agencies like Cornell Cooperative Extension. And they can submit applications in the different category areas that we have. And some of the types like the habitat, stream restoration and highway and infrastructure, we actually go out and score. We give it a sort of objective scoring. And if it scores above 50 out of 100, we recommend it to the SWAC for approval. Now, our recommendations are just that, recommendations. The SWAC can decide to approve, not approve, will approve whatever they want. So, but for 2024, we awarded a total of $663,000. $500,000 awarded to the 23C culvert project. That project is here. This was. This is okay. So this was a project where this culvert was incredibly undersized, and just off to the right behind where this photo was taken is the town hall. And every time water inundated this culvert, it would shove it basically right into the basement windows of the town hall. So it was a problem. This is the county road. That's the main thoroughfare through this area. So this project actually was recommended in a local flood analysis that we had conducted for the town of Jewett, for the hamlet areas within the town. And so that's a specific line in our grant funding for LFA approved projects, LFA recommended projects. And so we were able to actually cover not only the design, we under a separate award that was in 2023, we awarded the design of this culvert, and then also awarded the full cost of replacement of this culvert. Little West Kill, that's the logo here at the bottom. Obvious problems there, incredible undersized culvert, debris jamming issues, and that's in design right now, and we're planning to construct that. Looks like next season. We just got delivery times and quotes for the precast on this one, and it's pushing us out into October, so it looks like we're going to probably construct this in 2026. But the design was awarded. We just awarded the construction of this project as well. In the Habitat and Rec category, we approved essentially a NAC assessment with some add-ons that we refer to as multi-act. It includes some more stream assessment upstream and downstream of the culvert, a little more than what that includes. And that's going to be done in partnership with CCD, Cornell Cooperative Extension. Let's see, I can skip something here. The reservoir kayaking program, we did that last year. We did 2 sessions of the reservoir kayaking. There's also sort of an educational component to it, so we get folks out, we give them some history of the reservoir. And again, we did 2 last year. We awarded this again this year. We're going to do 6 this year because it was incredibly popular. Both sessions filled right up, and a lot of people sort of plan on more. And then the Manor-Kill Stream Rehabilitation at Hangman Road. And again, this was a local flood analysis identified project, and I'll have a couple more slides on it later. So just to give sort of the full picture in all the years we've been doing the stream management implementation project. You can see all the different categories here: education outreach, stream restoration, highway and infrastructure, planning and assessment, habitat and recreation, and local flood analysis. This one is sort of special because all these other ones, we can move this funding, the funding that we've allocated to these different categories can be moved sort of at our discretion. If one category is very popular, another one not so much, we can move that. But this one, local flood analysis, that has to stay where it is contractual. And you can see we've awarded almost $6 million with the awards we just gave out in March. It's well over $6 million now in awards for these various different kinds of projects.
Bill,
Yes.
that there was circular meeting and there was like 30 rounds. Once a year, did I miss that?
Yeah, we do it twice a year, March 15th and September 15th. And really the local flood analysis ones, we don't actually hold that submission deadlines because those LFA ones don't require SWAC. So really, any time that those come up, we're willing to entertain them to get them in the process as soon as possible. So from the 4 Smith projects completed in 2024, the Scary Reservoir Educational Paddling Program, Batavia Kill Splash and Learn, that was another one we did with the Cornell Cooperative Extension. We got young people out and their parents out into the Batavia Kill, one of our main streams in the New York City watershed, and got them out and did some benefits and things like that kids really like to do. County Route 23C culvert replacement got designed, and that was completed in 2024, and also the project implementation completed. For the education and paddling program, almost $5,000 awarded to that. We reached a number of people, I think about 26 people. We actually have 12 kayaks in that, but some people bring their own kayak. The big thing with kayaking on the reservoir is you have to have your boat steam cleaned day of. So it's a little bit prohibitive to get out there. So we had a contractor who does kayak rentals and had them organize that whole end of it. So they bring a whole trailer of kayaks to the steam cleaner, get it all done, and we meet up there. Batavia Kill Splash and Learn, again, that was Cornell Cooperative Extension, Streamside Educational Program. Everybody seemed to like it, and then we did actually award this again this year, so we're doing it a second time around. County Route 23C culvert replacement design. These culverts, we generally put these out to design by a consultant. We do a lot of the river restoration designs in-house, but these we generally put out to a consultant that the highway department is used to and comfortable working with.
Is that just because there's a higher level of design requirements, specifications for those?
Well, what we find is that a lot of consultants out there have capacity to design culverts and things, but we find they don't have capacity to design river restoration projects. So we generally focus on that because we have that expertise in-house. And we can't do it all ourselves, so this is the part of it that we try to put out because they are doing this every day, where it would be sort of a sideline and have to hit up.
So, last stream is that?
This, I would guess, CT. So almost all the streams that we work on in the New York City watershed, almost all are CT or higher. Well, and we have a number of A streams. So all require Article 15 permit. And this is the implementation of the County Route 23C culvert. Nice grade control structure here that the contractor did a nice job building. Comes down into this box culvert. There are a couple other side drainages that come along this road drain discharges to go under this culvert now, where it had been sort of shot into the side of the previous thing. It was not a great arrangement. One of the things that was interesting during this design process, DEC had recommendations to try and meet your bank pull width on the channel. And so the first design iteration that the engineers came back with had this 14-foot width. But with that wide width, they only needed 1 foot of height to get the hydraulic opening. And that was their initial proposal. So, you know, these recommendations from DEC can make engineers do crazy things. So we told them, look, even though the hydraulic opening is going to be bigger than, you can't have it 1 foot higher, or else it will look, you know, like this whole time, you know, so.
I'd be able to see the line under there too.
Right. So, all right. So getting off of the grant programs, we also have an in-house education outreach program, also through our contract with the New York City DEP. And some of the highlights there, we did a number of training and workshops. The Scary Watershed Summit is sort of our big flagship event every year. And we actually just did it again on Saturday. So great turnout. You know, we had about 4 inches of snow on that morning. So really didn't see the effect. We had people. We also do watershed webinar series. We call that Scary Watershed Month. And we're about to launch this again for this year. And we did a post-flood emergency stream intervention training. And all of these reached about 176 participants. Yes.
I would love to see in your slides or your training format for your post-flood ESI training.
So we had partnered up with Delaware County to do that, and they've done it a number of times. But I would have to point you toward grading them that much to get those slides.
That's great, thank you. How is that training received? Is your target audience for municipalities or landowners?
Well, we're trying to get municipalities and contractors. You know, I think that landowners, it's be real optimistic to think that they're going to take on street intervention like this. You know, so for the most part, we think of these as publicly funded. If you don't have public funds, you probably don't have enough to do damage. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But we are really targeting public actors, public money, and the contractors that they hire, basically. Community events, we did a streamside snowshoe stroll at Bear Pen Mountain. We did a film and fly tying night at Westfield Brewing. Flow Impressions art show that had both adult and youth artists at 2 different venues. Had an opening presentation by Robert Titus, a well-known geologist in Catskills. We did the Scary Reservoir Pattern Days 2, and again, this year we're doing 6 because they were so popular last year. And we did a mountain high pilots, and that was in top our radar, great partners. Also wanted to see performance after the pilot. 278. School visits and community appearances. We have this AR sandbox that kids really like. It's got basically a EPM on it that can and project these contour lines and areas where water will pond up. Basically in real time as you move the sand around, it updates itself and reprojects new contours. That's new water.
And that's something that the district owns?
Yeah, that's actually something that one of our technicians built from scratch.
Oh, wow.
Computer,
Yeah.
CPU, everything built right.
That's really cool. Yeah.
But yeah, he kind of took the whole thing together and it works great. It's one of our most popular things because it updates there right in front of you. Sand.
I've seen those in museums. They're fun to play with.
Yeah, aquariums. Yeah, we had to put together a pretty powerful process.
Yeah.
Anyway, AR sandbox, floodplain model, watershed pollution models. We have a big Penn River model here. It's about a 6x3 aluminum box and with a water pump, it cycles water through the sediment that's in the box, and you can see how the stream process takes place kind of right in front of your eyes as well. Environmental awareness days, and we have a couple spots that we brought to the stream table, including the youth fair, and it gets a lot of attention there. A lot of people like them. The PMC, somebody said.
Yeah, we were just talking about.
We have a plant material center that we've been running for about 15 years. This is a drone photo of it. We've also installed a couple of hoop houses over in this area now. But we have about 12,000 plants that we hold here currently. And we use about 5,000 a year, so we're holding over for about 1.5 to 2 years to grow them out. And it's a combination of different sources for the plant material center, not for the plant material itself. But we have irrigation set up. We're actually in the process of designing a new irrigation system. Right now, we actually draw off of a stream surface water intake. Sometimes the stream does go dry in drought conditions, like we had last year. So we're looking into a shallow well for non-potable water, a tank system that would let that water get to the ambient temperature before being sprayed onto the plants. And then connecting all those to the existing areas and also some new areas. This area over here, new plant holding areas, and then this is where those houses are. They're kind of just that site section over there.
How are you planning upon that?
We have some funding left over from our last contract in the stream buffer initiative line. And so my pitch is going to be to use those surpluses from our last contract that we were actually going to roll over and hold on to, that we repurpose those into funding this, or slash amendment to our current contract. So we are at about $350,000 range for what we've got designed.
Labor needs for managing a facility like that.
So I have one technician that his main job is to manage this place, and then I have 2 equipment operators that they spend a lot of time here as well. So we do have some folks written into that contract to keep this going. And the initial intention was to start using this to supply potted tree and shrub material to other districts that are doing the stream management program. That hasn't entirely taken off yet, and they seem to like just buying their plants. It is easier, we have to pot these all up. We get them from probably the same place a lot of folks get their bare root trees from Meadowview. So for the most part, they come in as bare root and we pot them up here. thousands at a time, so there's some labor involved.
So mainly you're buying fairly young stock and you're growing out.
Yeah, for a year or two, they're still fairly young when we do plant them. And we have recently started sort of supplementing those plantings with a few bulb burlap trees. So one of the projects we'll get to in a couple of slides here has some bulb burlap numbers and overall tree numbers. So
Hey, Joel,
yes,
is your PNC facility, is that district owned, or do you have like municipal partnerships on that?
we own that property. It's a 12-acre parcel that was donated to the district by the former land. So, you know. Our assessment updates, we have, quite a bit of assessment to do in our contract, where we choose to do these water quality stream projects is driven by the assessments we do. So we do walkovers, we call stream feature inventories, cameras, GPS units, rangefinders, and notebooks. We go out and try and find the most notable sources of turbidity. Turbidity is the prime water quality concern in New York City watershed. So we try and find where those worst occurrences are. This house is actually being demolished, probably is demolished and in the can by now. Started at the beginning of the week. And this bag, once this house is removed, this is one of the water quality stream projects in our 5-year contract that started April 1st. So we'll be treating this landslide within the next 5 years. This is another spot, Howard Road. Again, this is in our 5-year contract to stabilize this landslide. There are a number of houses outside of the photo that the town is concerned will end up entrenched in this landslide. They have lost the town road. The town road is currently closed. They don't plan to reopen the town road, but they do want this to get stabilized so that the houses don't change. The town actually the houses that are at risk are between a town road and a state road. So the town actually took the cost of punching out driveways out onto the state road for these landowners. And now they're working on us to get this stabilized. And again, this is water quality based. So we have to find areas where not only a large volume of sediment is being entrained, but glacial lake clay category of geologic deposits that are especially difficult to manage. We've been working with Telly Olson. He's with the Watershed Conservation Corps. We'll talk more about that in the slideshow as well. We've been doing some it's structure for motion. It's like a pole-based photogrammetry where we take a number of photos and then post-process it to make a 3D model of the bank. Really is super fast compared to going out with regular survey equipment. And the accuracy has been very good.
How long would you say it takes to get something like that as opposed to, let's say, your standard survey?
This model that you're seeing, and not only does it make the 3D tin, the terrain model, but it drapes the photogrammetry over it. But this was collected in like 2 hours. The local flood analysis program. This is the Penguin Road site. There's a couple more slides here, but this erosion was identified as a threat to the bridge that's right here in the local flood analysis. And after you cross this bridge and go down this little road here, there's actually a quarry there, sand and gravel mine. That's a critical facility for flood response. So if this bridge were to be out during a flood, the community would be cut off from that gravel mine. And that's one of the main sources of so this is the stream reach. This is where the erosion is, that landslide that's in the photo. That's that landslide. That's that bridge. And again, this keeps moving downstream where they're afraid if this continues down valley migration, that bridge above it will be taken out. So this is going to be funded in majority by New York City DEP. We also got a word of grant from the Army Corps of Engineers for this project.
Hey, Joe,
Yes.
did you apply for the water money or did somebody else?
We are the applicant. I will say that they more or less approached us with a project. Shepherded the process. This is our big project. This has been going on. It actually starts, this cut you can see in the trees. That's a landslide that we stabilized in 2021. This was the second project here in 2022. Going back to 2020, we did the clearing and the access roads for both of these projects. And then we built this last year. And we have another section this year and another section next year. So in the end, it'll be more than a mile. This project 3 was 1,700 feet. Project 2 was a little shorter, and project 1 was about 1,500. In the end, it'll be over a mile. So here's a sort of aerial. This, again, project 1 was establishing this dewatering channel. So we passive dewatered this through there was a gap in the moraine here, and we were able to passive divert it with a diversion channel. So the first project was establishing this channel and doing all the clearing and grubbing for project 1 and project 2. Project 2. Project 3 is the lighter green here. We just did that last season. This reach includes a privately owned bridge, so we're addressing this short section just on its own this year. We also have a massive amount of spoil material from these other projects that during this year, while we're doing this, we're going to pull that up here to make our access road for project 4, the upstream project. Here's some photos from the site. You know, these little looking machines, this is like a 345 here. That's a full-size golf room. So, you know, we're handling some big rock, number of stabilization structures. At the end, it looks like this. It looks like, you know, soil and grass. But basically, all of these bank fronts are armored with rock. And actually, these backlands up to the 100-year flood elevation. Then that rock is sort of veneered over with natural material native to the site, and then seeded and mulched, planted with trees and shrubs. So up in project 4, this is the kind of failure you have. This is all that glacial lake clay that's been pushed up by glacial activity. So geotechnical failure. So in project 4, there's actually cracks in the road all the way out to here that have just been sealed up by DOT. We're hoping to get to this before all of that state road falls and state road 23. Which is, so this is the private bridge that's in the region. This was from 2000, not too bad looking there. This is from 2022, where the channel has cut down 12 feet since 2000. So 12 vertical feet of incision. And these abutments are on a spread footer. So the bottom of the footer is here. Bottom of the footer is here. So this is all on glacial till and glacial state clay with a spread footer, you know, 12 feet above the bottom of the stream. So big problem. If we have another 100-year event, that bridge probably will not survive it. You can see here that these are the HEC-RES profiles. So from 2000 and what year is that? 3, I think. That was the stream bed. And then when we resurveyed in 2022, that's the stream bed. So that's the 12 feet of incision you're seeing underneath that bridge.
How old is the bridge?
Not super old. I would guess it was probably put in the early 90s. Yeah. These are the cracks in the road I was pointing out. These are some of the sparks going down that. This stuff's all right in this area here. And like I said, that shot on the road is right about here. There's actually another one over here that's not in the photo. And when I went by there the other day, they've actually cut these out, saw cut them and patched them back in with full patch. But now there's one all the way over in the far shoulder of that road. So before we get there in 2026, this road may or may not make it. And we are coordinated with DOT on this, so they're aware of what we're designing and not hopefully duplicate effort here. So, yeah.
So it says 25,000 cubic yards of soil loss. Is that in that time period? Is that
Yes.
an annual number?
Yeah, so from 2017 to 2022, we have topo survey going back that was done in 2017, so not a super long time ago. And 2022, 25,000 almost cubic yards is what we calculate is lost in those 5 years. So massive amounts, you know, we'll say that, you know, when you're dealing with stuff like this and they're holding projects off over sediment erosion control to during construction, I'm not sure we're hitting the mark on what we're trying to achieve there. So some of the design details, again, like I said, the bases of these tanks and also the back high terrace are armed with stone side to withstand 100-year flows and up to an elevation equal to the 100-year flood elevation. And then also there are a series of grade control structures in here to prevent vertical incision. Wolf Road, this was also repaired in 2024. This was a project we built in 2023. There was some heavy flow immediately when we finished. And so we went in and did some minor repair work and some replanting to get things back the way we wanted them there. But this was a huge landslide. This bank here. And also the front of this home. That's just down. That home is right down here. So. Looking at our interns, I know that was one of the things we discussed at the managers meeting quite a bit, where everyone was getting interns and sort of getting recruits in the pipeline to come start working for the soil and water districts. We've been working with Ulster County Community College through their Watershed Conservation Corps for a number of years now. That's where the folks that are versed in this structured promotion photogrammetry approach came from.
Watershed Conservation Corps?
Yes, yeah, so every year through New York City DEP. So these Watershed Conservation Corps members actually bounce around to the different districts. Straight down in the program.
Through Ulster County Community College?
Right, yes.
Assuming you are in that core, that also comes with coursework and, you know.
They are choosing them from the environmental curriculum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
We also do a similar thing with SUNY Delhi. So we have a number of interns that come from SUNY Delhi as well. They worked on monitoring the CSBI, that's a Catskill Stream Buffer Initiative, where we do just plantings. There's like a big construction component to the buffer plantings. These are more or less orderly stable stream reaches, often fallow ag land, things like that along streams that we work to get reforested or rewilded. Our 2025 internship plan. So for years, in fact, going back to when I started, I started in '97 as an AmeriCorps intern at the Soil and Water District. We did that basically every year, and I would say at least 75% of our staff has done an AmeriCorps/SCA internship. So that is one of the main recruiting pipelines for us is SCA interns. We don't have a chance to test run. We did this year decide we're going to go, they're 10-month internships and 5 months. We were doing 10 months up until now. This year we decided we were going to go down to 5 months. We may decide to do 2 after we try this once, 2 5 months instead of 1 10-month. But 10 month puts people in our office during a time when there's not a lot going on for the people who showed up. So we're thinking the 5 month would be a little bit better.
So these, the recent graduates then?
Yeah, until now, we've had a bachelor's degree requirement. We did just reduce it to an associate's degree, just to get a broader candidate.
Have you noticed any difference in, you know, the aptitude of the individuals from year to 2, or you haven't really gotten it?
We just got our cast of candidates So we're going to start interviewing. I think actually people are being interviewed this week. So we'll see. Just what really drove us to it was we get a lot of applicants, but very few take the job. You know, so we get applicants, but we still were having trouble filling it. And actually, we just had one that came and then left halfway through. So we decided that, you know, maybe relaxing these requirements and get folks that, for one, are maybe closer to home. You know, it's difficult to come from wherever out in the country. And we have had that from other states and things. But to live on an SCA stipend in the Hudson Valley is difficult. So our thought process was behind going to an associate's degree is we might be able to get people working and, you know, able to leave their parents or something like that during the term. So, but this is our sort of outlook for our 2025 goals. One of the other things I cut from here is that we're actually trying to refill our CSBI coordinator position. We did just get civil service results from that, so looking forward to interviewing a few people there, and we'll be almost staffed up. I'm not going to go through all this verbiage, but be happy to share the presentation if everybody wants to see all the details out here. Like I say, that going to that plant material, there are about 12,000 plants in there. And it's a big project for that. So that's all I have. If anyone's got any other questions, happy to field those. Yes.
Hey, Joel, can you speak a little bit to your interaction with regulatory agencies? You have a lot of big stream projects. How does that work with DOT, DEC, everybody else that's funding it?
Yeah, it works the same way it works for everybody else. They not give us any shortcuts or.
A lot of that's emergency, like the road project, for example.
Yeah, they don't really see it that way. Emergency would be sort of regional, you know, where they are.
They wait till the road falls into the creek and then it's emergency.
Well, yeah, wait until 40 roads are falling into the creek. Well, it's part of the thing. It's not emergency permits, you know, that's sort of the way they go. Yeah, we have not gotten any shortcuts or So we need to do Article 15 permitting. We need to get some kind of generally a nationwide permit for Army Corps. We need to get curb cut permits from DOT. We have to sometimes get planning board approval from the towns. So yeah, it's the full regime of permitting.
So at the time you do an initial assessment or there's a problem identified, the point in which you might be able to address that problem is how many years?
I think 3 years we've been pushing it up until now, passed. You know, now they had an extra year on there because you can't clear it. Pretty very extreme right here, in-stream work, right? Because these are all out there in streams, so we have to work from June 15th to September 30th. And during that time, we can't trees with its back. So, yeah, that change where right now the Oregon along your back is the one that's creating problems for us. You can't figure after March, after the end of March. So it does not agree with our spring work period. So we have to be out doing these clearing and grubbing separately with the whole rest of the project. So, you know, for Red Falls and Penguin Road, depending on what goes on with these bats, they might get pushed off to 2026. Yes.
To speak more to Ryan's question, do you have a DEC general permit? And do you, if you don't, do you think that would be helpful for you?
We don't. We have it in the past, and they more or less did away with them. They were issuing more. Although they did extend the threshold for minor permits up to 500 feet. So that actually is bigger than we had for our general permit when we did have 300 feet. So, you know, they kind of understand what I guess. But
Regional office, Stephen?
region 4
Is, where's the office, Stanford?
Stanford and Schenectady. Yes.
Do you think the stream management implementation program has advantages over, say, like WQIP, in terms of admin, expenses, the things about your program that make it a better program than streaming projects done through WQIP?
I don't have a ton of WQIP experience, but I have heard it's administratively burdensome. And these are not finished. We have to get the contract hammered out. But then for that 5-year period, these funds are more or less at the discretion of our committee.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting that presentation together. So I guess now we'll take a brief lunch break. Once you're back, I'll pause the recording and we'll come back at 1 o'clock.
Can't hear anything.
All right. All right, here's our county here. We're obviously up along Lake Ontario here. We have Oneida Lake, so some pretty large water bodies that we have within the county boundaries. We have a little bit of everything. Our office is located right here, pretty close to two cities, not real large urban areas, but 2 cities that we have in the county. And then this kind of right here, this is LA3, this is the 81 corridor right here. It's kind of like the divider between sort of what you see here, lots of farmland, scattered woodland. There's a lot of wetlands, and I'll talk about that a little bit. And really up in this region right here, this is actually getting out of the Tug Hill. So it's a pretty drastic change from the bottom southwest corner all the way to the northeast corner. And so as far as programming, our educational and outreach program, quite a bit going on there. We do have an educator that is actually half their time is split in agricultural programs, the other half on education. And
a lot of time is put into really these three programs right here. So the Envirothon, we kind of have a decent history of Osceola County coming in and, the top 10, not every year, but, they do a decent job. We all of the top exam writers, and I happen to be one of them for forestry, and this year I happen to be one for current issue. We'll be at least partially for current issues. So we all end up, if somebody wins the Envirothon, we'll all end up volunteering some time, and we'll give them an extra review session. But in March, we always do one review session where we do 50-minute to 60-minute sessions for each of the topics, and the students really like that. Try to make it as hands-on as possible, as you can see. This date with our conservation field day, here's an example of that, looking at some macroinvertebrates. So all those things, we really try to make that hands-on because, all this, the outdoor education, we're not going to have as much of that as we possibly can. Plant a tree, you can see there's 5,000 seedlings given out from K through 6th grade, K through 6th. In the 30 years, I believe it's somewhere around that 150,000 mark in trees that have been given out to those students. And then we do a number of workshops, static displays, booths, probably similar to what most districts do. Our technical assistants, we probably, if we couple all of these topic areas together, we're probably it's several hundred assists in a given year. We've been as high as COVID was really high for technical assistance. I think our requests that we satisfied were somewhere around like 400 plus or something like that. But typically it's at least several hundred. We do everything from mapping and phone calls to site visits, plans, grants, and projects. I always explain to the board that it could be a half an hour devotion to an assist. It could be 3 weeks. It just depends on what that request is. So agriculture, I've been waiting a while to say this, but we have everything from cows to cranberries. We really run the gamut as far as everything that we have. And we have muck farms, obviously corn, truck crops. We have row crops, truck crops, all kinds of livestock, and we have there's a lot of hobby farms. There's a lot of, I would say, it's probably in the 90% range that the farmers actually work off farm. So most of them are very small. There are a number of farms though. There's about 600 in the county. And, I think small farms, everything from bees to honey, they do a harvest dinner. Like I'm sure they do that in most counties, but literally everything that you can think of is supplied at that dinner from our county. So here's kind of an example of our AEM and CRF program is we do have, obviously assisting farmers with all of the guidance they need to keep clean water clean on their farm. So here's a great example of a BMP project that was done, I think a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. But this is a typical one, so you have some resource concern there, and here's the solution to it. Hardened barnyard, gutters, fencing. Those are the typical projects, and we try to do, a few of those each year with the AEM implementation money, or at least 2 or so, 3. And then we do have some self-installed projects as well, drainage projects and things of that nature. So we're always there for guidance for the farmers. Non-ag water quality. This is one that really just is seemingly going to grow exponentially, I believe, in our county. So we just had to figure this out. We have over 35% of our county, the land base is actually jurisdictional at this point as far as wetlands. If you look at a map, we've had to do this a number of times, is really there's whatever color the wetlands are, that color is really intensified in our little corner of Lake Ontario there. So we do have significant water resources there. So this is a big deal. So we do get a lot of drainage and stormwater questions, ponds, shoreline erosion, you name it. I think everything that, that other counties have, we do get a lot of those. And so we'll go right out with the landowner. We'll, you know, if we have to help them maybe navigate the permit system, environmental review, all levels, all the way to guidance to grant projects. And coming soon, we're actually going to be getting into wetland delineation, which is where one of these new positions will come into play. We've taken things as far as here's a project here, pretty significant road flooding, and we have a non-ag engineering grant to the state right now. We're just wrapping that up. And then we've had some involvement in the last few years there with 9-element plans. This is one that we kind of went a little bit further than other watershed plans we've been involved in. We're actually involved with Jefferson County and doing the water sampling. There's an example of that. And then we do get a lot of the recreational clubs, trail clubs that ask for our assistance. And this happens to be a bridge project that we worked on. Here's the before picture. I don't think you can get a lot worse than that, so I wasn't too worried about the end result. I knew it had to be better, but you can see obviously on the right, this is what we came up with. And I kind of commented on some of the questions earlier about permitting. It does, it's an involved process for sure. And I think, we have things we've been working on at this point, for a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. It's definitely, there's definitely a lot of work involved in that. And that's why to a landowner, I think we're careful how much we might do as far as the permit, but we usually get them started in the process. So maybe set up a meeting target for and the TEC. Invasive species, we have quite a bit going on here. Our biggest program, I'll talk about that in a second, for invasive is our water chestnut control program. But we have done quite a number of things. This little collection of photos over here has to do with the hemlock woolly adelgid. And right here you can see a little blue tag on this and some nice big hemlocks in the background. That's a park we have in our county, and several years in a row, we actually have to do a pesticide treatment that's right up along Lake Ontario. So we switch out our tags here each year. You're only supposed to do with the pesticides, you're only supposed to do certain up to 150 or something like that inches per year. So we have to be careful of how many per acre we do. We have to kind of rotate them out. So we got through the first rotation, and pretty soon here we'll be starting another one. But we actually were able to collaborate with the Hemlock Initiative, and this was kind of a neat with Cornell, and so this was kind of a neat project. They took some of the infested branches and they reared some beetles in here in the lab, and then we just kind of placed a little bit of that foliage with the beetles in there and released those out into the just off the site where we were actually creating. So that was kind of a neat project. Here's if anybody's familiar with this is giant hogweed. This is how I'd rather see it. This is a pretty aggressive plant. We have 60 sites in Oswego County, so we have an agreement with the New York State DEC. Most places they have had at least their strike team or hogweed control team that goes out there various counties and does this control work, but here we actually coordinate with a contractor and we do that. So we do a couple different things. The herbicide, cut off the seed heads at a certain time of the year. And we've gained great control, but as you gain that control, you have to monitor for quite a while. But as you gain that control, you ultimately have popped up somewhere else. So we've stayed right around that 60 sites, but it was up to 80 when we first started, so we've gotten that down, but I think we'll probably stay there a while because as you get one, another one pops up, unfortunately. That's the way it goes with invasive things. This is getting to be quite a success story. Is we have a large river, at least Oswego River in North County. And it's part of a three-river system coming from like Montezuma area all the way down through the Seneca. We have a Nida River coming out of Nida Lake and joins up to the Oswego, heads out to Lake Ontario. We have water chestnut in a big way, or we had it in a big way at least. It's getting minimized at the moment. So as we started about 10 or about 15 years ago, when 330 plus acres on that river and patches that looked like you could walk across them. So we use an airboat, network great, but now this is even better. This is a drone, and I believe it was the first aquatic treatment in the state, or at least very close to it. A lot of rigorous training that the contractor had to go through in permitting, but this is a lot less liquid, so it's a higher concentration. 1 gallon per acre is all that we use. You can see the spray coming out there, and there's no weight with the airboat had, so we don't get any what's called striping, where the vegetation wasn't treated. So that has really helped, and we only treated 66 acres last year, down from that 330 that were dense enough. So the rest of the acreage, it's still there, but it's really in, kind of little patches like this and single plants like this down here. So we get an intern crew together, and I'll go over more about the interns in a little bit. But what we do is we clean up those edges, get all the scattered plants in between larger patches, and we have a nice patch like that for the drone to fly in. These crews, we've had up to 7, that's a lot. But we've had that many, and they usually get somewhere between 30 and 40,000 pounds of plants out of the water, and then they cover like 185 plus acres, which is great. So they do a really good job for us. So our forest management program, I'll spend an extra couple minutes on this. We do manage. We have an agreement with the contract with the county where we manage 2,200 acres of reforestation property. And this, that can come about for any number of reasons. But they really wanted to see, have some oversight on these properties. And so that's where the district at one point, I think around 99 or 2,000 hired forester. And then I actually came on as a district forester in 2006. So just a few years later, and have, this is one aspect of this. And so we really run the gamut on the management here. Everything that you see listed here, boundary maintenance, we have to, obviously we do a forest inventory. And here's kind of like a real basic diagram. So, we really start with, we want to develop this map. So we start this type of forest inventory. We're measuring trees. We're taking down all sorts of statistics about each tree in a sample plot. And then we extrapolate that data, we analyze it, and we come up with this sort of a map with all these different forest stands. We have our wet areas, sensitive features. After that, we come up with a harvest schedule, and we'll actually get right out there, mark the timber, bid that out, any vegetation control on the property, and eventually gets to this stage where we have a logger come in, it's bid out, contracted, and afterward, we're working with that logger on the site restoration and all the permitting, everything that goes to it, and everything you can think of, neighbor calls and anybody, wanting to recreate, we take all of those calls, so it's all really rolled into one wall of management. And everyone at the county level sends folks to us. So we'll utilize the data that we collect in that inventory. That's where we put the science behind it. So we're taking silviculture, the science and art of managing and tending forests. And you do need both of those, the science and the art. And that's where, obviously, I was marking that tree for a reason, and for a marking guide to satisfy some sort of a density type goal. But the art part is, when you're out there, you can hand that paint gun to 3 different foresters or 4 different, and it'll look like, if you have different color paint, it'll look like a rainbow out there. So you really put your own experience and flair into those types of things. When you have to, when a woods looks like this, that might look great, looks nice and green, right? Nice place to maybe, throw a house. We got a nice wooded scenic and, environment there. But that's not sustainable. These are all, this is, works out. So this is all a beechwood fern. So what you have to do is you come in with herbicides and when you do it, you're kind of thinking to yourself, oh boy, I hope I did the right thing. This will look like just a brown, it just looks like a desert after it's all brown. And then that's what you want. Then you cut that back really hard and you get some great regeneration. It's not every time that you do that. Sometimes we do, thinnings, obviously. We'll lay out right here. You can see that's already nice trail. Sort of all laid out when we flag those. We do all the operational aspects, and then we bring in logger, and that's the end result. And when you're done with that part of it, you still have to do this. That's when the site restoration comes in. So you're taking the skid trail, you're leveling those, the bridges come out, and then hopefully afterwards you have a nice landing that's reseeded, and obviously you won't get any erosion from a site like that. So yeah, the forestry on the resource station, we get to really practice great forestry. So this is a really nice thinning that I did a few years ago. We also do regeneration cuts, and we all talk about these plantings we want to do. 500 seedlings with a 350 per seedling per acre or sapling per acre survival in the end. And you take something like this, so this is a strip cut. Okay, so I think this is 66 feet in that strip, and you open that up, and you can orient those however you'd like. Some folks, do that different ways. It depends on the slope and topography, things like that. But this is what's in here is actually, I know that maybe not the best picture. This one is very clear. There's actually, so we're talking, 350 plant, tree. 350 seedlings per acre survival when we plant. This is 35,000 per acre. So you can get in that 25 to 50,000 per acre area quite easily with natural regeneration and using the right tactics. And we did have to spray in there and that kind of thing, but you get excellent results. For the rest of our program, we will offer a certain level of assistance to landowners. We do have to be careful, and I think it's different in every county, is that, some counties don't have necessarily a lot of consultant foresters as we do. So we'll take it to a certain level, but we're not out there marking the timber unless it's part of a federal or state program. So we do have, general assistance that might be a phone call. It's likely a walk in the woods, and we actually will really run the gambit. We'll look at a single tree all the way up to several hundred acres. So in the same, one example is in the same year, I helped a gentleman figure out what this was. They were boring into their maple trees, and at first glance, you might think that's an Asian longhorn beetle, alert the media, right? Turns out that was what's called a pigeon tremex. It's just an insect that makes a similar hole. And in the same year, we also, we're on a property inventory, wrote a management plan, and got somebody close to $100,000 to do forestry work on their on their property. So we really run that full gambit. We'll actually, for equip, we'll write several management plans per year. Those are eligible because I'm a TFP and we're not co-located. So we are able to take them the entire way. And once you get into equip or CFP, we're able to mark that timber. So every year we do so much of that. And we have also really gotten into even urban and rural forestry. So we've done street tree inventories, village plantings, and kind of run, I think, the whole course as far as forestry that you can. And now the idea between, you could kind of see in the beginning, we're bumping up to our number of employees, and the idea is to click and shed a few things and take on a little bit more of the forestry and really grow this aspect. AEM has allowed us to really work on whole farm. And so we've done everything from the barnyard, all the way to the forest now. And as far as implementation, we haven't done quite as much with AEM, but we are planning on that. Hopefully, very, very soon we'll be able to get into that a little bit more. All right, so the last part, I'll talk about our intern program. And so we have hired anywhere from 4 to 9 interns in a given year. The majority of them will be on our water chestnut team, and that's a hand pulling team. But we have also had a number of them, and I'll kind of explain that in a minute here. Different areas that we've had that work. So over the course of since 2016, we have hired 51 different interns. And when you tell them when they leave that you'll be their reference, that's a commitment. I don't think I realized that, but that could be a job in itself sometimes. Our selection process, we do that very similar to the way we would hire a technician or anybody else, any full-time hire. And obviously we're advertising. Handshake is really great for this. We haven't really advertised anywhere else. We'll throw it on Facebook, a quick email blast, and to some of our regular colleagues around the area, and that's about it. And we've gotten pretty decent response. ESF is I would say sometimes they're 50% of the hires. This year, I think they may be 100%, but there are, it's great, but in the last few years, we started reaching out. We probably advertised to 15 different colleges, and the last few years, we have really diversified. I think last year, there was maybe 1 or 2 from ESF, and the rest of them were from all of the area schools. And so we go through that process. I give them a full interview. I just kind of feel like things that, looking back, what did I want, in my internships and maybe didn't get, or do I want to give back a little bit? So I think it's, I give that, I do the whole selection process, do the interview, review everything thoroughly, and we've put together some great teams, and it's kind of fun to watch. I mean, for the Chestnut team, they spent 9 weeks together, so you kind of want to put together like-minded folks, and it's interesting to watch them day one of training, a little quiet at first, and then 2 hours later, they're whatever, the conversations are hilarious, which one's stronger, Mighty Mouse or Superman or something like that. So it's just it's interesting to watch them grow. In their onboarding and training process, we give for all of them, the water chestnuts are a little bit longer because we have to incorporate boater safety for them, water safety as well. So that does take about a week. We start out from day one, we give them training on, the history of the chestnut program, for if they're forestry or they're going to do NAC assessments for us or something like that. We're actually giving them, training on safety, everything from, that they may see out there, from giant hogweed, the poison ivy, to, the things that even it's kind of sad, but even, mobile meth labs, we have to tell them what they look like and what to do if they find one. If they have, we've had interns find that stuff. So, so we really, techs, you name it, we give an outdoor training, and that has really grown, how to avoid dog bites, how to, it's just, harmful algal blooms. So all those safety things, we all take it for granted. Well, okay, I'm not going to step there, but maybe they don't know that yet. And so we take it upon ourselves to kind of share that. And then throughout the, our policies, and we treat that, we really treat them as they're an employee of the district. And I think that they really enjoy that. And you can see the professionalism. It really just, I don't know if it really grows, because right from day one, we're very clear with the expectations, but I do see, that professionalism is there as long as, you're hiring the right folks. And then we're very clear with expectations. We do have them sign a set of intern rules, and that has worked out really well for us. So we have them for usually anywhere from 9 weeks to maybe 12 or so. It depends on when they can start. But here's our, here's one of our water chestnut crew that's from last year. You can see we sent them the CPR. And that's like day, maybe day 2 of training. And usually, it's in person. Last year was the first, I had like 6 different training days because everybody was starting on different days, but it's nice when it's all together. So these are some of the things that the water chestnut crew does. It looks all, labor intensive, but we do, I think we get the right candidates because I've added as much technical. This is, a program where they're hand pulling water chestnuts. I could just say, all right, advertise weed pullers, but I don't think I would get the right people for that, right? So I actually let them they'll do a research project, maybe, how many, in a treated patch of chestnuts and an untreated patch, what's the seed count per plant or per acre or something like that. So they figure things out like that. Biodiversity studies, seed, nut viability for the water chestnuts and things like that. And then they do a technical report. Last year we incorporated a presentation. They're doing, outreach, not necessarily outreach, but interaction with the public. So they really enjoy that. It's been a great job. We've gotten some compliments from folks at ESF about that, and we have, decent onboarding expectations. But we also have them, if we get a chance, so the other interns I've had forestry, we've had these 2 folks here were hired for NAC assessments, and they did a great job with that. When I get an opportunity to take them out on a site visit, this is one we were looking at, trying to place a bridge here, or looking for the best bridge location for a landowner. So we'll take them right out, have them chat a little bit, get their ideas, and really, like I said, try to get them into that knowledge, because you know what, they may, like some of these folks I am finding, they may apply for your full-time positions, or you can hang on to them if you have the finances and such to do so. So we'll go right through, the training, forestry, that's going to be a little more, tree ID heavy and sort of the real world of forestry, and help close that gap a little bit. And we've done that with several interns. NAC is, here's 3 days of training, and here's the county, a truck and the key, go for it. And so we've had some really good success. I mean, you are putting, and I do explain to them, it's just, okay, yeah, sure, I'm taking this vehicle out and this and that, but some of them are leaving with, $60,000 worth of gear, and we'd like it back at the end of the day. So we're, so we do, we really do take some time and talk to them. And then, we do a few fun things. That's not really, I don't have a lot of time for fun necessarily. So a lot of times our educator will toss those types of things in. So that's the weight that they pulled in a given year. That was kind of fun. We do, we'll throw a luncheon in at our presentation, so they really enjoy that. But probably one of the most, I think, the neat things is I actually do for the water chestnut crew and the other ones too. I'll do a brief staff meeting pretty much every morning. Most days it's how'd yesterday go? What are we looking at today? What's the rest of the week looking at? Are you watching the weather? All right, go forth and conquer kind of thing. But on generally on like Fridays, I don't know, for some reason I'm a little more relaxed, weekends right there, and I will almost kind of give them, we'll talk, but they'll ask more questions, and I'll talk a little more about, what does a manager look at in a resume, and I explain to them. I think they're kind of shocked that they really have about 90 seconds of my time to grab my attention, and I'm looking at their resume, and I kind of want to see, most bold print words without being bold print, and that kind of thing, and matching that up to the job description. And so I don't know if we're changing the world one intern at a time or not, but we are proud of that program. It's been great, and like I said, a few compliments from ESF, but we are getting some great candidates by trying to make it a great experience. And if somebody wants to see, they really have an interest in an ag project, I don't have a problem taking a couple hours and we show them something, but for the most part, they've been pretty productive for us.
Hey, Joe, you got Studio Oswego right there. Do you want to work with them?
We have. We've gotten a few. We've gotten a few candidates from them. They've made some offers to do like a volunteer handful for our invasive program, but a lot of times they're mainly student. I mean, they do have some environmental classes. They mainly have like a a biology department and such. So it hasn't worked out for some of our positions, but yeah, we've definitely filled a couple of internships with them. And then, I don't know, we run everything, we really give a lot to the landowners, the municipalities in our county, and really feel like everything we do, every bit of guidance, every project that's our thumbprint in the world. So I figured if I did a bad job and nobody liked my presentation, you can't really complain if I throw my cute daughter up there. But that's the next generation though. What do we want them to see? And I feel like everything that we've incorporated, everything from, let's say a project, the education, the conservation field day, and I don't have all the pictures up there, but I can just visualize in my head, somebody hanging onto a red fox pelt, or looking at the macroinvertebrates and the environment, somebody takes the billboard stick and they hold it upside down, but they're not gonna, they don't necessarily get that experience sometimes, elsewhere. So we're trying to provide that, but I think everything from the farm project to those, educational, events and then the interns, hopefully we're making a larger impact on more acreage and more water bodies by doing the things that we're doing. And so that's, kind of the question, what do we want them to see? Hoping it's a decent environment at the end of my career. And that's it.
Awesome. I love that you included the daughter. I mean, that is why we are in this. We're in it for her, right? That's great.
Yeah.
Your internship program. Wow. Holy cow. A couple of questions. Are these paid internships, and what is the pay?
Yeah, they are. So we started since that whole, the whole range. We started down in the low teens, and now it's I think there's a little bit of a competition with your general, McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts job. We're right now, a crew leader will be at $19 an hour, and in November 18. Now, when they come in for like forestry and NAC and things like that, we pay them that higher rate. I'm sure we'll be pretty close to like 20 by next year, but that's where we're at for now. We use everything from Part C funds for that to our flow costs. We've had other people sometimes. I think we were I forget the exact name, but we have had folks reach out and say, hey, would you hold, an intern? And, if it's all paid for, that's great, but it depends on too. We've had colleges reach out and like, oh, I don't, it's not a big deal, just take our intern. And there's a lot of work that does go into that, especially, you can see everything that I just talked about. It is time consuming, so we do have to have something that, that we get back, but that is, obviously we want that to be great for their future aspirations, but we do need some kind of productivity. So it's just, a lot of, sometimes those like the academic ones don't work out quite so well for us. We have some logistics too. We don't have every, unlimited offices. So.
Right. How many vehicles do you have in your fleet, and how many interns do you have in a summer?
So that's, I have to like lay a chart out and who's taking what, because it does get to be a problem. So we actually rent vehicles during the summer. So
Long term?
we just, so I guess so, it's about 2.5, we'll run them for the 8 9 week period. So we get U-Haul vehicles. That seems to be the best. So we get a truck through them. And then what we'll do is we have a van. We'll usually give that to the crew. They can get the numbers in there, and then we'll rent another U-Haul truck for us. This year though, we have 3 vehicles. So I don't know if we'll have to do that, but there'll be at least one rental in there for sure. Then when you throw the other ones into it, you're generally giving them something that is on a daily basis. They're in the field, and so that kind of you got to really look at that. And I don't know. If we give them a rental or not, usually they take one of our trucks, but that does get to be a problem where a handful of times we might end up a full-time staff member actually might end up driving their own vehicle. But we've been reluctant to have them do that based on conversations with our insurance company.
Yeah. Awesome. And one final question, and thinking about the research projects that are driven by your district, so the water chestnut, nutlet survivorship, do these students take that research, or is there an opportunity to do their own research for perhaps a capstone for their degree, for their undergraduate?
Yeah, so I've had several reach back out and, you know, if they made a presentation or they had a, so if they can have that research paper and then they take it a step further for their capstone courses. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
It was great to see none of the interns had a cell phone in their hand while they were.
Yep, absolutely. And we actually do let them take them with them. There's a rule, you know, obviously use it only at lunch, but I don't know, we've been back and forth on it. We're not gonna actually, you know, give them you know, district phones and all that. So what we do is we do want it on their person. We do buy them dry bags. It's a safety issue when they're on the phone, so that's fine.
Drop it in the water.
That has not yet happened. We're not in one area.
Thank you, Bill.
So we are on to the program updates and amendments. You need a minute left to
Yeah, let me just pull up the PDFs here. All right. Oh, never mind. Oh, there we go. Okay. Ready to go.
So we got the time for updates and amendments first.
Okay. I will run through amendments first, and then I can give you just a couple of quick updates on where our latest round is at, what's going on with the program. So 4 amendments to consider today. None of them are staff approved amendments to share. I'm going to start in Region 2. First contract to consider is Onondaga County, Round 26, C71430. They're requesting a time extension to June 30th, 2026. The reason has been provided in your materials. PJ Emmerich is here to discuss and supports the request as needed. I'm also here to answer some questions. So if you have any questions on this, please let us know.
Any questions, discussion? If not, amendment. Second.
Second.
Derek? Voting.
Aye.
Gail?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
And signed off, I guess. Aye for me as well.
Great. Next one is also Onondaga County, Round 27, C711473, Snowbrook Phase 2, second phase of the same project. They are looking for a contract extension to June 26, 2026. The reason has been provided in your materials. PJ Emmerich Region 2 ADA support request refers to the state committee. We are here to answer questions as needed.
Any questions, discussion? I need a motion next time. Trying to move along. Second. Okay. Darren.
Aye.
Dale.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Aye for me as well.
Thank you. Third one, last one from Onondaga County. This is the second round 27. It's a cover crop project on the greater Oswego River. Just found out. Contract extension to the end of the calendar year of 2026, a 1-year, 10-month extension. Same, PJ Emmerich has brought the request, supports it, and it refers to state committee. PJ and I are here to answer questions.
All right, any questions or discussion? Not, motion to approve. Second?
Second.
All right. Vote, Darren?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
And I for me as well.
Thank you all for Region 2. Moving on to Region 4. The one we have is from Essex County, around 26, Land Champlain Heavy Use Area Mitigation Project, looking for a one-year extension from June 30th, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. The reason and supplementary material has been provided to you, as of me. Ryan Cunningham supports the request but refers to the state committee. Ryan and I are here to answer questions on the contract specifics as needed.
Any questions or discussion? If not, motion to approve. Move. Second.
Yeah.
We'll vote.
Aye.
Dale? Aye. Scott? Aye. Roger, there's Laura.
All right, thanks, everyone. So update on Economic Point Source, where it's at is it's currently in reviewers' hands. We have 5 agencies reviewing around 30 proposals this year. NRCS could not participate in the review. Proposals are due back from review on May 2nd, and we'll have a post-review meeting shortly after, once I've been able to process all of the scores and have them double-checked by a colleague. And we hope to have a ranked list May to June based on our processing time.
Did we share, with this committee, like how many applications we received and all that?
I don't think so, not for proposals that we've,
Do you have that information handy? Or maybe when we come around to staff reports, would you mind sharing
that.
basic stats?
yes, sure, but yeah, yeah. But that'll be it for me. I'll circle back when we're all doing our updates.
Okay.
Success.
All right.
It's that, I know I have an email you sent on that, so I'll pick it up for you.
Oh, can you send that to me?
Yep.
All right, thanks.
We are here on updates and amendments.
Now, I just, before Jennifer, before you jump in, the version of this in your handout is missing an amendment. I printed these off too early, so the one on the screen will be put in is the correct one and will be put in the minute.
Thank you, Bethany. The missing amendment on the form that was printed off was just a staff approved amendment, so it's not up for consideration by the state committee. It was a BMP change that was approved by the AEA for to better suit the system that's being implemented in Onondaga for a grazing project. There is one amendment for your consideration from Essex County. It's a round 5 project that is set to expire at the end of June. They would like a 1-year time extension because the engineering has been completed and the farm will need another season to solicit bids and schedule construction for the water management and erosion control project. The farm and district are committed to completing the project.
Any questions or discussion on the amendment? Now, motion to approve. Second. Second.
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
I agree as well.
Thank you. I'll provide a little update on the Climate Resilient Farming Grant Program. So round 7, all of the contracts have been fully executed. Districts now have their contracts in hand for those projects. And many have already vouchered for some advanced funds to start work on those projects. Round 8, we have all of the plan of work documents and have already started to send to council contracts for their review. So those round 8 contracts are starting to begin the review process internally. The track 1B and track 3B projects are currently on hold until further information is more available about the funding that was supporting those projects. For round 9, we are drafting the RFP to be for the state funding that we have available for round 9, and not including any federal funding that was potentially going to be included in that round. From the 24-25 EPF, there is, the funding that we have for CRF, approximately 14 million, so that is, what round 9 will potentially look like.
We are now to reports, I believe.
We are.
Start for the voting members by saying that we finally completed this process for our new office in Fulton County, and we have, contractors on board, and hopefully we'll begin construction fairly soon. I'd like to say we'll have it done before snow flies, but that might be tomorrow, so. So we're making progress, and hopefully by fall we'll have a new office. Darren?
I don't think I have anything. I have the most of it.
Dale?
No, I don't have anything.
Yeah?
Blanche's been, with a New York State retirement, looking into, changing the, tier system. And, so she's waiting to get some more word on that, sent a letter to Thomas and Ackley. Sam went to Boston, talked to federal legislators, the ACD, back in March 25th. And she attended a Zoom meeting, a Great Lakes Committee meeting on March 28th. To discuss updates from the Ohio State University folks, review the draft fact sheet to be sent to districts in the near future, and existing project information gathered in November 24th. And that's about it.
Yes, Bethany, you'll work
Yeah.
the rest of them.
Yes, so I'll kick things off. Just a couple of updates on some projects that we're working on as a state committee staff. First, I wanted to touch or let everybody know about a recent survey that we sent out to districts regarding how districts interact with the SUNY system, but we also asked a bunch of questions on their positions, when they're looking to hire somebody and the various qualifications that are needed. We also tried to gather some information from districts about their internship programs. All of this effort is kind of coming out of a really opportunistic meeting that we all had with folks from the SUNY Provost's office to talk with them about how to make their students more prepared for careers in the conservation field. So part of the first step of this was to develop a survey and get a, what did they call it? An inventory of how districts are currently interacting with SUNY schools so that we can try to maybe figure out our plans forward. Chaz put together a really great survey. We got 26 responses from districts. So we're still working through those actual responses, and we'll bring those back to this group, and we want to put them together and then ship them off to the folks who've been working with at SUNY, and we'll see where it goes from there. So it was also really good to hear from both Joel and Joe about their internship programs and how successful that has been, and to hear all the different schools that you work with and the capacity that you work with them in. I'm also working to put together the state committee annual report for 2024. My goal is to have that printed and published by June, and I'm really hoping we can stick to that. But that's an important document where we are able to not only highlight the accomplishments of all of the programs that are administered through the state committee, but we also use that as an opportunity to showcase the work of soil and water districts. They're the ones out there getting that work done. And we're planning some, I think, pretty good highlights for this annual report. I've been working with Ben specifically to really build out some information that we collect from our state aid reporting to really showcase how those dollars are spent out on the ground. And last thing I wanted to share, we are working on planning regional managers meetings that will take place over the first and second weeks of June. So all of our regional coordinators are working together. We're going to draft up some agenda items and host those meetings, which are always a great opportunity to connect with districts that we feel. That is all I have for now.
So, AEM round 18 is still moving forward and going well. We're in the second year of that contract. In the midst of developing round 19, and that will go from a 2-year contract to a 3-year contract. And so we're hoping to have that out pretty soon for everybody to see. Quick summaries on the TAC committee meeting. We talked about the new nearshore aquaculture program that we're working on in partnership with Suffolk County, and we'll pull in some NRCS at some point. And we've begun the development of a tier 1 and a tier 2 for that. And so adding that into our ag BMPs as an opportunity. We had a pretty successful meeting there. We've had a couple follow-up meetings already for the nearshore aquaculture. So that's actually coming along pretty well already. Hoping to plan a trip out to Long Island sometime this summer when the weather's nice. See when that happens. We also had
down there.
Right. Yes. We also had a SPAC meeting, and we worked on some feedback from some of our other programs, along with reviewed our current soil health policy and took a look at where that is and if it needs to be expanded, updates for cost share and whatnot. And we also took a look at a development of a policy for, we were calling it post-planting pre-establishment, but it's more of a maintenance for trees that are getting planted in projects and continuing to support those trees to be successfully planted, replaced if needed, and to keep that, you know, we know districts are doing those things. We want to keep supporting them and doing those things and keeping those trees that they are taking the time to plant to be successful. So we've had quite a bit of discussion. It sounds like we're going to have some additional meetings on those two policies in the near future. So everything seems to be going okay. Awesome.
Thanks, Jess. So, a decent work coming your way, state committee voting members, right, out of those policies and the 19 and all that. So thanks, it's great. That was in summary. I think a lot of trainings, one-on-one technical support, and program management and development among the planning department and programs team. So I think I'll just stay there, and you'll hear reports from various folks around the room.
Joel, anything we want to add?
No, I think I've added something.
Jennifer?
I have a quick question. You had reported that Sam went to Washington DC, to speak with some legislature.
Yeah, it's the fly-in.
The fly-in. Yeah, does he typically talk to like the ag committee, or who was he specifically speaking to? Do you know?
Blanche sets up the appointments. I'm not sure who he does it, then can talk to.
Okay. And he speaks to them about farm bill stuff, is that correct?
National, through an ICD, you know, that the national level is pushing for.
I just had a quick question about that.
I get you better answer, I'm calling Blanche.
Okay.
Thanks, Jennifer. Ryan?
A couple updates for Region 4, a lot of discussion on AEM, as Jazz mentioned. Coming up on round 18, in the final construction year for all tier 4 projects. So kind of working with the planning on those getting going in a lot of counties. Also a lot of discussions on round 19, July 1st being the deadline for the annual action plan or the action plan for round 19. All those planning hours and some of the conceptual projects for tier 4 kind of coming together. So kind of working with some districts on that. Mixed in with some new employees and kind of people getting their feet under them and trying to plan for these things around Region 4. Brian mentioned the MOU with DEC. We continue to actively manage contracts in Lake Champlain. basin based off the MOU, so there's a lot of money coming through for specific pilot implementation for ramp projects, the rural roads, active management plan, and some soil health contracts focusing on cover cropping and other soil health initiatives up there. So that's keeping those 5 districts pretty busy up there. And as the spring opens up, those projects will kind of continue into the construction season. Other than that, getting, communication with new board members, there always seems to be a turnover in different counties. So doing a lot of district law training, meeting new directors, going over performance measures and things like that. So a lot of good stuff in Region 4. Thanks.
Joe, anything else?
I'm all set.
Scott?
I don't know, in the past month, it's been business as usual. Lots of closeouts, some of the older grants coming out, getting closed out, but then again, some around 28 getting closed out ahead of schedule, which is nice. We're all under a training regime, so I've had to take a lot of training these past few weeks, so I'm trying to knock off one a day. Mostly they're online, but we're trying to go live. I participate in the Environment Committee, so we're setting up for our New York event coming up here at Cortland, City Cortland. Attended a USC retreat for partners, which is a great day. They had a 2-day retreat at Tioga Downs. First day is for partners, second day is for members. So they had us there, wide range of federal partners. There's some NRCS folks with the crowd, which was nice to see. EPA reported out, although they were kind of at a loss of what to say. So that was very interesting and worthwhile. Vic and I traveled up to Washington County to a capacity and retention training for the board up there, which was very well received, I thought, and that continues to go well. So people in the room and on the line, Vic and I are still available to come out to your district, present to the board the capacity and retention training that we've been giving at NYACD and other venues for the past couple of years now. Got to visit a hellbender rearing facility, which was really cool. It's a species of conservation interest in my area. So that was really neat to work with USC and see that. I'm going to be meeting with CREP, National DC, the DC folks, and some of the other CREP coordinators around the state, City Watershed, and Big Skinny Atlas to talk about the future of CREP amidst the various pauses that we're experiencing and what that means for enrollment and more important, re-enrollments for contracts that are expiring this year, next year. Not a lot of expectation, but hopefully some conversation to learn what their options are and what discretionary actions there are that they can take. I also attended a Mohawk River Basin Coalition meeting. I'm not sure if I got that right.
Watershed Coalition. You got it.
Kickoff meeting with DEC, a long time coming. Capacity grant, $1.2 million to go towards funding the people in that coalition for non-ag BMP implementation. A lot of roadside stuff in ag. Like it's good ag training myself, which was interesting. And most recently, I've been working on the USC agreement that came out of the special projects funds. And this committee voted on carve out some money from CRF round 7, 1.2 million to go to USC to help with tree planting and afforestation guidelines, protocols, and some other things, but a lot of implementation activity, but hopefully some products. That's all I got.
Yeah, the ecosystem-based management program, we're hoping to have a new RFP out, hopefully over the summer at some point. This one will be for stream corridor management program, and it will include, it could be either agricultural or non-agricultural lands. I mentioned before, it will be issued through the SFS grants. So just a reminder, if you haven't logged on through that, make sure that you have all your roles set up. You're ready to go. If you haven't done it, if you go to the grants management or grants gateway, the old website, they have a lot of information posted there. That is probably the easiest way to just go to that website. You'll get the links you need to check your roles, make sure they're all set. But
The AEA is both involved with it, so other upcoming opportunities, so they can probably fill you in. Some details.
I just jotted down a quick note. Let's work together more and see if we can maybe put together an email to send out to districts and just some basic instructions on how to get those SFS.
It's gone through VIX a couple of times, and now last month it went out again. But, you know, until you need it, you probably won't want to check it, but. Yeah, I've just heard if for some reason everybody was supposed to transfer over that was in Grants Gateway, but, you know, I've already heard a couple districts who actually needed to go and get new administrative roles, and that can take 2 weeks. So it's not something you want to wait till last minute if you're trying to apply for a grant to find out weeks to get back in.
Can we bounce back to Ron and Tim quick? Ron?
So I didn't know what the hell Scott was talking about, but a hellbender is a huge salesman.
Yes, sorry.
No, but maybe you bring one in for show and tell.
You gotta be less than
Last month we did a exhaustive update on the AM planner certification, so I'm gonna not do that again. And Brendan's gonna kind of throw some details on some of the trainings we've been working on. I won't monopolize the time.
And all set also?
Region 5, more of what Scott and Ryan had said, there's a lot of closeouts coming down the pipeline, and working on some of those AEM amendments for the second year. AIM, also, as I think I've said at these meetings before, I've got a few districts that are interested in joining the AIM program. Green joined last year, but I have a couple in Rockland and Nassau that are very interested in joining, so there's been a lot of conversations with them as the round 19 information's about to come out. And we've been promoting updating strategies or for them developing their first strategies. Chaz was great. We hopped on a call with Nassau a couple weeks ago, spent like an hour and a half on the phone with them, just answering any AEM questions that they had. But I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a couple more, possibly Putnam in New York City as well. So we'll continue on those conversations. In the state aid program, all the payments went out. Part C, I think, hit district's bank accounts Friday of symposium, so March 12th, or whatever that was. So hopefully everybody's good there, has their money. Most all those analysis for this year's reports have been done, except for Part B. I've got about half of those left, so I'll wrap those up over the next few weeks. I've been told there's a few districts that did not spend all the money, so if they don't spend Part B, they do have to price the check and send it back to us. We just add it back into the pot for next year, so it'll stay with the districts. As Bethany said, worked with her a little bit on annual report figures, got those kind of crunched so that we can include whatever we need in the annual report for this year. That was a topic of conversation that Jennifer Kelly brought up for the SPAC conversation this week. Is just looking at our annual report to see if there's any questions that could be removed or things that we need to add for next year. So I did spend some time late last week and yesterday going through that to see what we think we may be able to cut out. Those numbers from districts. So we'll continue to work on that and bring that back to the districts and CDA and kind of see what their view is on all that sort of stuff. Beginning of the month, we sent out the hourly rates memo. That is the salaries and benefits data that we collect from districts every year to put out our recommended rates that are used for competitive programs. That's where our AEM rate comes from. So this year, the rates all went up between $3 and $5 for technicians, engineers, secretarial staff, and vendors. But one thing we also did was we upped the overhead rate for the first time ever. The overhead rate came out in 1999 from a real document that we have, and it's been $5 ever since. We were able to figure out through some kind of reverse math using the old rates and the old overhead how that was calculated. So using that same equation, we figured out that number now should be $15
we were able to up that by $10 an hour. So what we're gonna do now is every year when we calculate the rest of the rates, we'll recalculate that overhead rate too, and confirm that it's consistently increased as needed. So I think that was really good. We kind of, Scott brought that up like a year ago, we kind of looked into it, and it went away, but now with this year's reports, we brought it back up again. It's good that we were able to make that. The last thing, this didn't take a whole lot of my time, but I thought it was interesting, is Brian went to a Great Lakes meeting, right? And out with a bunch of other states.
Yeah, I went to Detroit for the day.
Yeah.
Flew in, 6-hour meeting, flew back.
But out of that, we got a request from Indiana, right? It was essentially like Layton's position, but for Indiana, I guess. And wanting to know all the information about like our state aid program. So we put together an email with a whole bunch of our documents and information. Took some stuff that we had already put together, included that as well, and shipped that off to them. So I would expect maybe we'll get some follow-up at some point. But that's it for me.
I want to take a moment just to announce Tyler Parr as the new district manager of Cattaraugus County Soil and Water District. Tyler was recently promoted from the technician position. His first day as manager was last Friday. Jake Kelly, the previous manager, chose to leave the district community and take a new job with Livingston County Planning Office, so he's not too far away. But Tyler's excited for the new position and hits the ground running, and super excited to be working with him in the near future. Similar to Region 4 and Ryan's region, a lot of new board members in Region 1, significant turnover in legislative seats on our Soil and Water Board. So getting those members up to speed with trainings and general assistance and acronyms and alike, things like that. So nice to see new faces. The only other thing that I'll mention, actually one comment about Lauren's SFS comment. I heard recently that DEC was beginning to start to push the migration for their projects into the SFS. So hopefully with that additional workload, that'll spark some interest in to make that migration as well. But just one more plug also for the capacity trainings. As Scott mentioned, we've been on tour. You forgot to mention Rensselaer County as well. We'll be getting on Seago next week, and couple other prospects out there as well. The presentation most notably has evolved over time. It's an all-encompassing presentation that focuses on capacity building, recruitment and retention of staff, but it is an opportunity to open up a number of different conversations with your board in the moment, with us as intermediaries to kind of facilitate that discussion. So if district staff, district managers are having difficulty engaging with your directors in that way, feel free to reach out to us and we'll definitely want to help. So thanks. Oh, one other thing, a quick plug for the operations subcommittee. We are reinvigorating the subcommittee after like 7 or 8 years of it being mothballed. The subcommittee is being restarted again to facilitate an update to the operations manual for soil and water districts. May 15th, 2025 is our tentative meeting date. It will be a virtual meeting for our first get together, an introductory kickoff. We have identified a small group of managers, technicians, and administrative staff that are interested in participating. However, we always would like more participation. So I meant to put out a save the date yesterday email. So that'll get done today. And if there's any other interest, feel free to reach out to me and we'll go from there. Thanks.
So from the planning side, we just wrapped up 2 of our bigger training responsibilities last month. The first one being water quality symposium, where we had our tier 3 showcase class. That's where we, take a group of people, Ron, Greg, myself, and some veteran planners, split them up into groups, and we take a look at their work. They bring tier 3 component plans, full CMPs, stuff they're working on in the AEM realm. And we go through it and talk about it and sort of engineer that. So the groups are made up of
counties that wouldn't, necessarily interact usually. So you get, a great perspective from your colleagues on the work you're doing, as well as some experience, you know, from us on what we see, in our work. And that was really good. Some good work came in. We also did, you know, so we had a full day this year, and was able to do sort of a refresher course on the AEM Tier 3 process, you know, kind of marrying Tier 2 and Tier 3. So that was very good. We also had a crop nutrient management software course. Mike Contessa from Farm Info Tech, Franklin Valley Economics came out. He's always very gracious about this. And puts on a pretty grueling all-day course on the complete soup to nuts, nutrient management software, that Farm Info Tech provides. And, you know, by extension, just kind of a walkthrough of building a nutrient management plan using a software tool in general, which was really good. And, as far as water quality goes, I do also want to, say, I haven't had a chance to, but I want to say a special thanks to Chaz, because she had no obligation to hang out with us and completely, stepped in and hung out with the men instead of Ron and I putting on training. So, really appreciate that. And then, the second big one, was our CNMP training. We give it on a semi-annual basis and, every 2 years. I hope that's right. So this year we have a 3-day course. It has been 4 in the past. I think we're gonna go to 4 again because we knocked down to 3 days. This is now that fell in. We were a little cramped with some of the subject matter. We basically over that 3 days, we posed these participants down with everything that is a CNMP and how to build them. And we do that alongside Cornell Pro Dairy, Cornell Spear Program, and usually NRCS, who regrettably were not able to attend this year, and TEC. And this year we had 23 participants, spanning anything from soil and water districts. Actually, Green County, Alex, I had a lot of good conversations with him. We've gotten to know him real well. He's done a lot of our training lately, so he's hit the ground running. Private planner shops, DEC, cooperative extension, and we even had some ag market staff this year. And I don't want to speak for Ron and Greg, but in conversations, I feel pretty safe saying this year felt like a pretty particularly engaged group. A lot of questions, a lot of good conversations, and they walked away. I walked away with a lot of them, which is a good thing. Reaching out to people, talking to them, walking them through documents. Yeah, I just a great experience this year. So I think I personally and I feel pretty good about all of those trainings. So I think that's it.
Yeah, the energy that both that water quality and the CNMP training that those participants brought was really lifted our spirits.
Yeah. Oh, I will just add, with water quality moving to Rochester, I did have the opportunity this year to stay at the conference, do a little networking, and we had a little bit lighter course load than we have in the past, so I got to take some courses about my own. So that was a great experience as well.
But I don't know if there's that actually a first time. I don't know why, I don't think there is. Questions I know you mentioned earlier, they were involved in scoring, I think, and the one. And training here, is this, you know, if this is a temporary thing, because of staffing or?
I hope it's a temporary thing because they're very focused on trying to manage their own workforce and dealing with all of that. You know, I did have thought someone from NRCS was going to be here at the meeting today, but I think something came up. So I'm hoping that once things kind of settle down,
Yeah.
we'll be able to get back.
Maybe get some feedback from them on that, if this is going to be a problem going forward or when they have heard.
It's not just New York State, I'll tell you that. I'm on like an email chain, I guess, with other states in the Northeast, and just a week or so ago, they sent out an email asking for input on how the changes with the federal government have impacted, state committees in the Northeast. And I think everybody is trying to figure out how to re-engage with NRCS and still work with partners, given, the limitations that they're under and the staffing changes that everybody's facing. And then the funding element. So it's felt nationwide, I'm sure.
I don't know, NACD has been putting out some good information on the reduction in the workforce and programs. I'm sure there'll be an update soon.
So, kind of a concern, I would say.
Yeah.
For Region 2, just the same, very similar to what the other AEA said. A lot of grant closeouts occurring here this month and a few scheduled here in the future. Been doing some board meetings and trainings, things like that, district law, and pretty much all the different modules that we have on SharePoint. Also, looking forward to doing some of our state committee required trainings. There's a couple this month here online that looking forward to doing. One of the interesting things that occurred here this month, I was working with on a voluntary basis with some of the new technicians, and even one technician who's been around for quite a while. They just wanted to rehash their programs, their state committee programs that they have with us. And we're just looking for nothing more than just another set of eyes, how somebody else would do it or how we did it in the past. So I had a chance to meet with them all day. And as a result of that meeting, we're going to go back and do sort of another program review update on some of their new stuff. So I thought that was exciting, and I got thinking about maybe putting together a state committee voluntary review checklist. So I talked with Bethany on that, and I started a draft, which I saved on our G drive. But I think it will be helpful for some of the new staff that we all have across our regions. Not saying that it's anything right or wrong how to do a program, but just a way to sort of have somebody else take a look at how you're administering programs, and maybe there's better ways to improve efficiency or whatever. So we're looking forward to that. I just want to say thanks to Scott, because my first one is going to be at Cayuga at some point, and Scott offered to help me, so I appreciate that. Other than that, I'm doing a series of 4-hour courses. The course itself is being updated, so Ryan and I are working with DEC staff as well as district staff that have done around from the beginning, that have done a lot of the 4-hour trainings through the municipal subcommittee and things like that. We're hoping to have that updated and hopefully roll it out by Water Quality Symposium of 2026. So that's kind of exciting to see that come to fruition and get updated. Also working with Cayuga and all of my districts on the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition. The capacity contract is moving forward, thanks to Brian and Bethany for their help on that, and our partners at DEC. And then it'll be exciting because shortly after that moves forward and gets finalized, we have the BMP implementation through our new MOU you heard about earlier. That's going to be great. We'll be able to take some of that money, get it to the districts, and do some incredible projects with that. Also working when it comes to the Finger Lakes with Tyler. I'm happy to help him any way I can with some of the watershed contract management. So we've been chatting over the last few days. We're going to be looking at the SW forms and meeting with some of the districts, the coalition, to kind of work through them and see what we can do to try and use them to incorporate some of the project data. So that'll be a really neat thing we're going to be doing in the near future. Also had some AIM Tier 4 projects coming in, and other than that, it's pretty much business as usual, and just looking forward to summer starting.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's right. Yeah.
No, not in the report.
My calendar is saying tax day, so I did do my taxes. But anyway, so a lot going on the last couple of months. As Brian said, I transitioned to a new title, so kind of getting my feet wet with some of the regional guys that were managing a lot of these contracts with the various watersheds. So slowly kind of getting adjusted there, trying to take it slow, just because I am trying to, I don't want to say wrap up a bunch of work, but just continue to work with districts that I don't really want to lose touch with either. One of the biggest things, in conjunction with the CEA, we were able to offer an ArcGIS Pro training, actually fully sponsored by CEA, which was great. I think we had 60 or just over 60 individuals take the course. We offered a live Q&A session with Society of American Foresters
and a private organization as well. So that was great, and I think that is wrapping up now. I don't know when the end date was, but hopefully everybody found that successful, and we're actually hoping to continue that partnership into further trainings in the future. So I think EJ kind of leaned into this a lot. It has been like very tool centric for me the last couple of months. So I've been trying to troubleshoot with districts or help develop a lot of spatial tools, lean into survey 1, 2, 3, kind of visualize maybe reporting needs, metrics, whatever they may be. So a lot of different tools. I'm working with annual reporting with Ben. We're trying to maybe find a better way to do the annual report besides like Google Forms or Google Survey and stuff like that. So a lot going on in that realm. We're slowly getting there. Still actively working with many districts to implement local data management systems. I've been kind of on the road a lot the last couple of weeks, getting districts set up. I will also be going down to Suffolk County in a couple of weeks to help them get theirs set up. So that'll be exciting. I don't know if I'm catching the nice weather, so you're gonna just have to deal with the nice weather.
Traffic won't be as bad at least.
This is true. That's right. That's a good point. EJ kind of touched on this as well. So as we go through like the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition and reporting needs for that, I've been really leaning into our DEC partners and just trying to better align our reporting with their reporting. However we can make the process easier, let's explore those various avenues, which in some cases might mean let's align our metrics, make sure we're being consistent. So Greg and I have had a couple meetings with their staff just to see how we could fall into shape and maybe button up some corners, just to make things a little bit easier. Been working with Tim quite a bit on kind of making our data reporting a little bit easier. So we have a dump sheet now. So when we get new contracts, basically we can put it into a dump sheet and migrate it to the database. So there's no more individual hands. I hope we're trying. So anyway, that's probably good enough. Thanks, everyone.
So I'll circle back on those round of three stats for anyone. So my apologies for not sharing these earlier. I forgot we didn't meet in March. We got round 30 proposals in late February. So on eligibility and completeness review, we gathered a bunch of statistics. This is about all proposals received, not the ones awarded. So this is the round in aggregate right now. So we got 145 ag non-point source proposals in for round 30. That was 142 implementation projects pre-planning. That came from 41 districts. The ones that proposed the most were Wyoming with 13, Madison with 11, and Allegheny and Onondaga put in 9. Several districts put in just one, which is great too. That was Chenango, Columbia, Fulton, Livingston, Orange, Rockland, Schenectady, Seneca, Suffolk, Washington, and Yates. So just one for them. So there was 106 proposals in the EPF track that had 14 million attached to it. There was 62 million solicited though. Bond Act track had 39 proposals for $19 million solicited from the state. There was $11 million available. The total farms that participated in this round was 252. There were 67 CAPOs included in that. Farms that proposed riparian buffers was 44, which included 58 acres of forested buffers and 3 acres of herbaceous. Farms that proposed cover crops was 52, totaling 31,513 acres. 115 waste storages proposed this round, 6 equipment purchases proposed. The total combined project cost, so that was all the projects proposed, both state and partner funding together, was 121 million. The average total project cost, so each individual project on average would have cost 840,000. The average state request was about 550,000 of the 840,000, and on average, the state cost share percentage was 69.2%. In total, districts requested from the program $81 million from the $25 million available. So a really popular and oversubscribed program. So that's the summary round, and again, I hope to have, a rank list by you guys for May, fingers crossed.
Is that all the stats that you've come up with?
She gave me, a couple minutes ago.
The stats you came up with is amazing, but the absolute, the number is just, I was looking at you, Matt, like when you used to review applications.
What's that?
When you used to review applications.
Oh, yeah, but,
145?
yeah, and then just the 8 million versus, what, 25? Okay.
And $800,000 a project.
Yeah.
That's scary.
I mean, it's a shame that there's so much distance between the two.
They available and then.
But
Stay around, thank you. That's it?
A report for the New York State Conservation District Employees Association. Our annual meeting was held on March 12th during the Water Quality Symposium. We had a packed house. For anyone interested, the packet is on SharePoint. You can also reach out to me and I can send you a PDF copy. I want to thank Vic Giacomo for providing an excellent report on behalf of Bethany. And Bethany, you were missed during the annual meeting. A resolution for the Employees Association and NYACD was passed to partner to reform efforts with the New York State and the local retirement system. And I provided Blanche a list of conservation districts who have cited difficulties with retirement as primary reasons for employee resignation. So we are seeing the impacts of tiers 5 and 6 directly causing resignations. People are quitting because they can get better benefits in the private sector. So I gave Blanche all of that information. And our entire executive committee, the member at large and out-of-division representatives were all reelected. I want to announce our upcoming CDEA meetings, June 4th and 5th. We will be in Division 6 and we will participate in a buffer planting and hopefully the Hellbender Center that Scott is raving about. Our August meeting will be held August 19th and 20th, and our October meeting, October 22nd and 23rd. And we will have both in-person and virtual options to attend. CDEA Vice President ran an incredible water quality symposium. A record 36 courses in ag, non-ag, the clerks and tracks, forestry, as well as the education tracks were hosted. In addition to the New York State Erosion and Sediment Control Review course and exam, 387 people attended the training over the course of 4 days. Again, record numbers. CDEA thanks NYACD, the state committee, and our NRCS partners for assisting with organizing and instructing these classes, as well as financial contributions. We cannot do this without you. I want to give a special shout out to Ryan Cunningham and to PJ Emmerich, as well as Blanche from NYACD. We have overhauled the new employee orientation class, and we got some really great feedback from participants there. We took a four-way partnership approach. We gave a case study about how all of the partners work together. And then at the end, we had a spinning wheel and we did some trivia with some candy. So it's really fun to see that course reinvigorated. Ronnie Raindrop celebrated his 35th birthday, and CDEA has paid for new costumes, and they were unveiled at the symposium. Lots of photo ops, and if you check out the CDEA newsletter, Ronnie is evaporating or transpiring all across the state, and the new costumes look fantastic. The shoes were problematic to walk in, so we had those 3 lines. I see Chad with his head nodding. Yeah, it was a disaster. Shoes were a disaster. So Mara Stoddard, who's our Division 5 rep, she took on new costumes, and they are amazing. Jess has emailed the evaluation form for the symposium. We're going to unpack all of that during our June meeting. and address the training needs for conservation districts. Hopefully, we have some recommendations as to topics as well as instructors. And Jess is going to put on an event that was even better than this year. I met with some of the state committee AEAs to discuss agenda items for an upcoming municipal assistance subcommittee. I think we've landed on DEC permitting and regulations, maybe with a honed-in focus on wetland regulations. I've been logging district feedback. Districts are concerned with the new regulations that are coming down the pike, and hopefully we can work with our partners at DEC to get some of these concerns addressed. Oh, our 4A partnership meeting was unfortunately canceled, and I look forward to attending our next meeting. I am working with NYACD's Executive Director Blanche Hurlbut on a new Senate bill. This is Senate 5759, relating to the management of PFAS in biosolids in the state by establishing a moratorium on land applications and requiring testing for reporting of certain groundwater. This bill is strongly supported by some conservation districts that I've spoken with, particularly Albany County and Schoharie County. They are working on county-wide bans for the spreading of biosolids. These legacy pollutants are entering groundwater, well water, drinking water. They're flowing off into water sources, and the Conservation District Board members are very concerned. Also of a concern is that fertilizers being marketed as organic contain PFAS in them. So there's a lot to unpack here. Blanche has reached out to directors. I'm going to reach out to our district employees, and I'm very excited to partner with NYACD on this and see if there is consensus among districts to support this bill and really put some teeth into maybe a ban on PFAS, not only a moratorium. Albany County had a 90-day moratorium, but the Albany County Soil and Water Board does not think that is enough. They want a full-blown ban on biosolid applications. The CDEA board and I have attended a number of meetings to uphold and contribute to our forward partnership. This includes a CDEA managers and partnership meetings, the NYACD meeting in March, as well as Legislative Day, the Technical Advisory Committee meeting, and the State Programs Advisory Committee meeting. Our CDEA news has shifted from bi-monthly to quarterly, and I hope to have the winter edition out soon. And I do have some upcoming events that you can save the date for. The New York State Envirothon will be held May 28th and 29th at SUNY Cortland. You can sign up on the website, and volunteers are greatly needed and appreciated. Katie and Hamilton County technician, myself and Katie, the Hamilton County technician, look forward to attending. And our CDEA golf tournament gets
free t-shirts too.
Free t-shirts, yes, free t-shirts.
Thank you, Caitlin.
And our CDEA golf tournament is slated for August 7th at Castlewood Golf Course, Canastota.
Thank you, Caitlin.
You're welcome, Bethany. Thank you. And I did send that report to you and Melissa, so you have.
Appreciate it.
Oh, no, I don't like to be secretary. I've got it.
Brilliant.
So Jennifer alluded to it earlier, talking about the climate resilient farming program and the round 8 updates, round 9 as well. We've reported out a number of times the additional funding that we received through the Climate Smart Commodities program. This was a $3.1 billion program nationwide. Went to a lot of industry partners, as well as not-for-profits and other government agencies. And we've been waiting to understand the fate of this program, as it was paused shortly after the new administration took place. And just yesterday, there was a press release that the Climate Smart Commodities program was canceled. But then you read further down into the press release, and it does say that there's an opportunity for repurposing the program. And individual grant recipients, DEC was the recipient, we worked with them, would be contacted on whether or not there's an opportunity to continue in some form. But there has been very little information following that as far as what that form looks like, how those agreements would be restructured, and what would be eligible to continue and what would. So we're waiting for further guidance. BEC is the contract holder, so they've been great getting information to all the different partners. And just wanted to say that by way of the press release title, there was some clarity, but then as you continue to read, it's still very unclear. So we don't know if we're going to be able to continue in some form to expand our CRF program. But just as a reminder, round 8 did include federal tracks, right? So we had the federal funding we administered through our existing state program, and we made awards. And now we still have plans to work in contracts, Jennifer said, are on hold. So they're going to be on hold until we have more information to share. So I just wanted to at least share with this group what has been made public, and that there's still a lot of questions left to be answered. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I will just really quick, because we are running a little short on time. I do have some advisory members online. Let's see if anybody has anything to report. Department of Health. You guys are still with us?
We have no comment at this time, other than to say that I just can't believe Ronnie Raindrop is 35 years old. Seems like he was just a pup getting out of kindergarten the other day.
You could just accumulate nimbus cloud.
Exactly. That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. DEC.
Nothing to report at this time.
All right, thank you very much. I believe, oh no, Jared Copley, Cornell Cales, anything to add?
Not really. I just put in the updated DEC bridge and culvert guidelines in the chat. Those came out, I think, last week, so folks might want to take a look. It seems better than the original draft. That's really all I've got for right now.
All right, thank you, Jared. I'll make sure to save the chat and get those links into the minutes. Okay. Any conservation districts that are still on the line with us? Do you guys have any reports or anything you want to share today? Right, hearing none. Anyone else on the line? Members of the public or others who are in attendance? If you have a report, please come off of mute and feel free to share it. Okay.
All right, the next meeting would be May 20th. That work for me?
Should be the third Tuesday. We're sticking with the correct schedule.
Nothing else?
I have one more item, and it is about a future meeting date. I am looking at scheduling a 2-day meeting in July to take place potentially on the Cornell campus with a project tour, perhaps. This is something we started working on the last fall, but we weren't able to secure meeting space, and it just wasn't a great time of year. So I think planning for it in the summertime might be a little bit better in terms of meeting space availability. So just keep that in mind. Probably I'll try to, stick with third Tuesday timeframe, either a Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, for that meeting. Unless that is not a good week for folks, and
That probably would work for me, but if for some reason we can't set it up with them, week before that would be better than going later.
okay. And so following this meeting, I wanted to just put this out there for everybody's information. I'll follow up with them, see if we can't get a couple of dates pinned down, and then maybe your folks will be available once they have a better idea of exactly what dates we're looking at. That's all I have. Thank you.
Right, anybody else have anything else? Adjourn.
Nice. That is scheduled. Look at that. 2:44.
No, it's back.